Hello, hello. Man, we are going to go through it today. You are going to love this presentation. Got that. What is this? Earl Grey lemon tea. It is good. Thank you, Jim Ron. Thank you, sir. Matter of fact, come on over here and introduce yourself. So, we got this world traveler extraordinaire from Las Vegas who likes to walk up on people in casinos at bet centers who just happened to stop in yesterday. In the middle of a cipher video, I get a phone call. I'm like, man, who is blowing up my phone? I'm looking at in the middle of the cipher video, this guy right here. Oh, hey, I forgot to tell you, man. I'm coming over. I'm 45 minutes away. He drove 8 hours and only 45 minutes away. He tells me he's coming.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's Justin. Justin's avatar. Blue Wrench in the chat. You guys know him.
Much love, everybody. Love y'all.
Get out of my screen.
Do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Video number one. Video number one is basically if you want to take about 10 years out of your life to go through all the Phoenix data and try to debunk it, here's what you need to do. That's what video number one is. Here's everything you need to do, source materials, and even an invitation that if you want to try and debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, just let me know what materials you need. So that's video number one. It was a textual presentation showing text and basically an outline of what it would require to take apart all the data sets that make up what we in RKX know of as the Phoenix phenomenon. Well, this video is not textual. You won't read a single thing or hear me read anything in this video. This is a 1,000 photo presentation. We're going to go through the history of the world, not as you were taught. We're going to go through the history of the world as it's been found and excavated, and we're going to tell a story based off what was found. We don't need traditions and legends. We don't need any guidance whatsoever. We don't need folk tales and nursery rhymes. We don't even need chrono markers from ancient text guiding us into holding different, chronological positions. We don't need any of that. All we have to do is go by what was found and what it's dated to. And when you do that, it tells an amazing story about the history of our world. And it's one that's not taught in any high schools, junior highs, colleges, universities. The establishment has never taught this version of history whatsoever, but it's one that the facts tell. And you're going to see it. That's what this is, a visual presentation of the history of the world. And because it's presented as Devil's Advocate Part 2, it's pretty obvious that there is something that explains this history of the world. It's called the Phoenix phenomenon. And if you are to spend a decade of your life trying to take apart the Phoenix phenomenon as presented in the first video, all the data sets that you have to attack, have to take apart. If you were to do that, it only opens up a bigger problem. Now you have to undo what I'm about to show in this video, and you have to provide an alternate explanation for everything you see in this video. You got your work cut out for you. But the Phoenix phenomenon absolutely answers for everything you're about to see. I'll drink to that. Thank you, Rama. All right. I still have not investigated those jewels, and I have no idea what they do. Get my intro out of here. Oh, do we have some awesome stuff to go through? I'm going to get to it right Now, let's put this aside. Go ahead and open that up. And go ahead and open up the very first one. Oh, we got multiple for you know when I do these visual presentations, you got a lot of stuff to look at. Thank you, sweet oversoul. Sharing my screen now. I'm going to be moving fast. We got way too much ground to cover to tarry. So there are all kinds of inexplicable enigmas according to the uniformitarian traditional archaeology, traditional historical explanations that are put out by academia. There are way too many anomalies that have to be ignored in order to understand exactly what it is that the ancients were conveying to us when they made these little artifacts, when they showed these pictures. Often,
to show you 3 artifacts that seem to defy evolution.
All right, I didn't know that video was in there, but I've showed that video in the past. But found fossilized in different strata all over the world, a whole bunch of it in Russia, are machine parts. I'm going to repeat that. Screws, nails of different sizes, screws of different thread counts, even bolts, washers, all of this has been found. Sometimes deep underground, sometimes in 300 million year old coal deposits. I mean, that's how old they are, right? We have found artifacts of very advanced scientific information. You guys know that this is Mul-Apen right here. Mul-Apen specifically discusses the Phoenix phenomenon, as I have showed in a prior presentation. We have many things in the modern world that have their antecedents in ancient times. Concepts today. This is a wheel, but it's a wheel found fossilized in 300 million year old strata. It's a wheel. There's been several photos of that taken. That was found in Russia. It's embedded in solid rock. We have very sophisticated schematics from the ancient world, especially in Puranic commentaries and Hindu texts from India and Tibet, showing that we understood the principles of aviation and even pre-flight checks and all that in the ancient world. There have been many discoveries that have been hushed since they were found, such as this in the 1920s of an underground subway complex found underneath the Great Pyramid complex. That's Mul-Apen again. This is Mul-Apen again. It's badly damaged. This is a fossil actually found on top of a block of the Great Pyramid. Mul-Apen again. This is a crystal skull found in Lubantum, Central America, in city ruins older than the Mayan ruins. The reason it's a mystery is because it's solid crystal. In being solid crystal, there is no scientific or engineering explanation for how the hell they made this with a movable lower jawbone. Because crystal has no yield. You can't bend it to fit it over into the sockets. They don't know how this was made. It's solid crystal. There's been 4 of these crystal skulls found so far, and they have movable jaws. Oh, this is from Mohenjo-Daro. These skeletons have 50 times more radioactivity than skeletons that were found at Hiroshima, and these are supposed to be 5,000 years old. So many examples of out of place artifacts. And look at that conduit. Most people don't know. Most people just don't understand. What you're looking at is the Antikythera computer 21 centuries ago. It sank off the off the coast of Crete. It remained in shipwreck ruins until 1900 when sponge divers brought it to the surface, not knowing what it was. In 1901, it was realized it was an artifact. In 1902, it was cleaned and presented, and they realized, well, this is some type of astronomical device. The Antikythera computer is made of alloyed gears and differential gears. The technology required to have made this would have been on par with ours of the 1910s and 1920s, but it's 2,100 years old. This is a battery. They understood the concepts of storing electricity, aerodynamics. This is just an elephant. Elephants aren't supposed to be in the Americas, but we sure have a lot of elephant statues all over the Americas. Elephant pipes and stuff. Inexplicable things that we don't know. These could be slingstone bullets. Fossilized. Here's a chapter on fossilized technology and William Corliss's material sourcebook project. Machine parts that we just don't quite understand what their function was, but they're found in the fossil record. Animals didn't make these. Sleestacks didn't make these. Humans made these, but they're found in the fossil record. We have much evidence from the ancient world of earthquake-proofing megalithic architecture by pouring silver into molds that connect block to block. These are resonance dampeners. And we have machine parts and we have molds that are inexplicable. We don't know what they do, but their tolerances are so high, we know that they had a machine function. This could be a mold. We could literally be looking at the exact opposite of the piece that was molded. The reason these are shown is because they're ancient. Almost all the artifacts I'm showing you are far older than any of the traditional civilizations that we've come to know as Egypt, Sumer, Babylon, Akkad, Elam, Mitanni, Rashamra, Syria, Aleppo. We don't know. I'm talking about Greece, Rome, the classical civilizations of Phoenicia, let's see, Greece, Rome, Mauritania, Libya, the Mediterranean world, then later European nations. Yeah, these artifacts I'm showing you are extremely ancient, and their tolerances show that they were machined. These spheres that have been found in Central America and Ecuador among the Olmec and the Mayan ruins, they're inexplicable as well. We don't know how the hell did they make perfect spheres, some of them almost 20 to 30 tons. How? How did you get the sphere? What tool did you use to make a sphere absolutely 3.1416 all the way around? How did you do it? How did you do it? So many mysteries from the ancient world. Look at this. This is made of stone. It's a mold. But what was it? What was it a mold of? Metallic machine parts? There's the Antikythera computer again. Yeah, look at that. That thing was sophisticated. 2,100 years old. How did we make these statues to absolute anatomical perfection? The ancients left us representations of the things they saw, the things they knew. So I don't need to see that video. Yeah, here we have, look at this. This is crazy. Here is a silver and gold inlaid bell found inside coal, which is supposed to be 300 million years old. A bell. Human artifacts have been found all over the world in levels of cities, infrastructure buried and collapsed at depths of 200 to 600 feet, all over the world. All over the world, evidence of human civilizations are deep in the ground. Remember I said that all these human artifacts are found underground, not on the surface. They're found underground. Here's another 300 million year old human molar, human tooth. How'd that happen? Antikythera computer. Here's, we're told that Native Americans didn't have the concept of the wheel, but their children played with wheels. Look at that Antikythera computer 2,100 years ago. You could use that device to go forward and backward in time and to show all kinds of, astronomical patterns. Now, I have showed on YouTube that the Antikythera computer has a date notator. Now, De Sola Price thinks it was 584 BC. Zechariah Sitchin, being a Jew, says it was 585 BC because he tried to line it with the fall of Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar II, but it's not. The Greek marker on there is 583 BC, which is exactly when the Phoenix phenomenon occurred and darkened the sun during a battle between the Medes and Lydians. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Ancient technology. The ancients drew and etched what they knew, what they saw. This inscription is famous because your Egyptologists are going to tell you that these are highly ritualized and stylized objects. But what you're not going to see is there are ducks and birds and catfish to the left and butterflies and dragonflies and insects to the right that are anatomically correct. So why wouldn't these actually be correct to what we see as well? There's some type of machines. They're also dated to the Technolithic period when they were carved. Yeah, these gigantic metropolises of megalithic architecture with high tolerances, these were machined. No Egyptian slaves in sandals under the hot sun built these things. There wasn't even a desert there when these things were built. Principles of aviation widely known in the ancient world. These are gold. There's the batteries. These are called the Baghdad batteries. They actually hold a charge. This is a damn lawnmower. A lawnmower from the ancient world. This is the black sphere on Stonehenge. Archaeologists call them Mycenaean daggers, but that's the same symbol that's shown on ancient woodcuts for being Nemesis X in the sky. Principles of engineering and pulleys and chalks, all this stuff was known. Here's a magnification crystal. Ancient inscription. Nobody knows how old it is. It was found inside a block of marble, solid marble. They break it open and it's got this inscription in it. Ancient coins have been found deep underneath the United States. That coin looks like the rise of a Chickenosaurus taking a man out. Man, you've been eating me in Big Macs for 80 years, man. I finally get my due. There it is. Chickenosaurus taking a guy out. Oh, it's going to get better, guys. It's going to get better. No one knows what these spheres are, but they're of human manufacture. These are spherical and they've got machined grooves on the side. We don't know what they are, but we found a bunch of them in Africa in like 2.8 billion year old strata. They're 2.8 billion years old, right? This is a machine. Your Egyptologists are going to gaslight you and tell you that this is a ritual object, but it is not. That is a very aerodynamic machine part. Here's an artistic depiction of the Great Pyramid with the phoenix on the top, and some dinosaurs, and some mammals, and some people that look like skeletons. Great Pyramid again. These are from ancient America. These aren't from Egypt. These depictions of the pyramid I keep showing you, they're from the ancient Americas. This poor guy here has a bullet hole in him. Yeah, 10,000 years ago, somebody shot this bison in the head with a rifle. This old giant. I don't know what that's doing in there. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Look at these pots and kitchenware. Pots and kitchenware here found in 300 million year old coal. Coal's found underground, deep in the. Remember, I keep saying this. All these human artifacts, human architecture has been found underground. like Göbekli Tepe and all the Catalhuyuk sites, all the Huyuk and all the Tepe sites, ancient Jericho's many levels, all found underground. So, some of you know where I'm going with this, because what's not been found underground is going to shock you. In Archaics Veterans, you got more stuff to see in this video than I've ever presented in my previous videos on this topic. Okay, some of these figurines. This is the Nampa figurine. Nampa figurine found underneath Idaho, 600 feet below the surface of Idaho. Somebody had made a human figurine and it was pulled up from a well. Yeah, what's it doing down there? How did it get down there at 600 feet? And where did the Egyptians learn the principles of electricity? How do they know how to make a light bulb? Oh, there's a good picture of it. Look at that. Anatomically correct catfish. Anatomically correct a wasp. But these aren't correct. These aren't machines. And somebody went for great trouble to etch things in. You see these little chisel marks? Somebody later came and chiseled a bunch of stuff out they didn't want us to see. Because it just looked too much like machines. Yeah, all this new etching, this all new. Somebody chiseled all this out. They did not want us to see what these actually were. There's the Antikythera computer again. That's the Antikythera computer. This is an old Babylonian map of the world. Oh, Nampa. That's the Nampa figurine, 600 feet below the earth. I'm not trying to show any videos. Yeah, that thing was machined. 22-ton disc called the Stone of the Fifth Sun, popularly known as the Aztec calendar stone. But it's really Toltec. How did this wheel become encased in 300 million year old stone? How'd that happen? That was found in Russia. These figurines were found in 323 to 298 million year old strata. Look at these figurines. Don't they look like they're millions and millions of years old? Look at them. They're millions of years old. Look at these bells. I mean, what do they have a need for bells millions and millions of years ago? I don't get it, man. Did they scare away the sleeve stacks? I don't get it. I don't get it. What you're looking at here is an elongated human skull. It's elongated for a reason. We've talked about why this happens under high pressure in a vapor canopy. But this guy got hurt. But his injury was mended. They poured lead into the crack in his skull, and the smoothness around the lead is proof to archaeologists that this victim survived the surgery, because the skull grew around the lead plate, meaning this male or female lived for a long time even after they were injured. And even this brain injury, I mean, this is a skull injury, but this is technically brain surgery. We'll get to that later. Here's a screw. Look at that. That's a screw. What is a screw doing in 100 million year old strata? How did that happen? This is like a laser lathe from the ancient world. They didn't do that with a chisel. We have many examples of megalithic architecture that was cut. Antikythera computer again, a concept piece of how it would have looked originally. Look at this. These are sandal or boot prints. Somebody was wearing boots or sandals when they stepped on this trilobite. This is a famous picture though. Stepped on this poor trilobite, big old giant doodle bug. This was found in London, Texas. It's exhibited today. You can go see it today at Glen Rose Dinosaur Park in Glen Rose, Texas, at the Creation Museum. You can go see that. I've already saw it. I took pictures of it. This is a fossilized hammer. The wood's fossilized. It's ain't no dinosaur made that. A human made that. Look at this. Look at this engine. Look at this engine right here. Under the right conditions, anything can fossilize, and it can fossilize fast. Oh, there's the Osirion reliefs again. Can you see that, Justin?
Which one?
On the screen?
Yeah. Oh wait, now I can. The guppy.
I'm just showing these little pictures. There's that screw again. Yeah, what was this for? This almost looks like a docking station for something large, mooring it to the ground or something. Yeah, man. What are all these tubes doing in 150 million year old strata? How'd that happen? Were those ventilation ducts? Is there something further down there that was pumping in oxygen or fuel? And look at this. You're looking at a core. This means they had an ancient tool that could spin at massive revolutions per second and sink it into solid stone to pull these cores out. That's what you're looking at. Where you're looking at a discarded piece from a piece of heavy equipment that could take solid cylinders out of solid rock, because the pipe itself was the drill. You understand the concept, how it would work? The pipe itself was the drill, and it just spun at high revolutions and it just melted into rock. And then when they slowed the revolutions down, it would pull the core right out, and it would leave a solid piece of masonry with a beautiful mirror smooth hole all the way through it. And we have found these holes. Sir Flinders Petrie used to marvel over these holes. He says, we don't have anything that can do this today. But somebody actually found evidence of this right here. They found the plugs still in the rock. It's amazing. It's amazing. This is from the ancient world, guys. We're not talking about anything new. Everything I'm showing you is from the ancient world. Now, you know, I'm just clowning, talking about uniformitarian principles and all that bullshit. None of this stuff is millions of years old. There's a fossilized human finger right there. It's been x-rayed. They can tell it's a real finger. The bone is a different type of material than the rest of the finger. All this coal mining, all these things found in coal mines. All these things found deep in coal mines. London hammer. That's that underground, that's that bell that's been studied. Yeah, well, World War II tanks are found fossilized as well. It just takes the right conditions. Yeah, that's a ritual piece. That's Zawi Hawass. Oh yes, this is a ritual piece from the 11th dynasty. Yeah, that's going to be the 11th dynasty, probably maybe Pharaoh Segnakti. And it's a ritual piece designed to make it look like a merging of the sun and a flower from the Nile. Yeah, it's going to be a Nile lotus. You shut your dumb ass up. So in previous presentations, I've gone over what these are. And I've shown you many of them. And I've even given credit to the photographers who've taken some of these awesome pictures, like Brian Forrester. So what you're looking at is like practice molds of someone who is unfamiliar or unfamiliar with an advanced technology, and sometimes they botched it, and they were just doing practice molds have been found all over South America. Upside down staircase. Yeah, nobody makes an upside down staircase. So these are like practice molds, but sometimes sometimes what's left behind, though, is just what's left of the mold, because the actual piece that was cut out was the piece that went somewhere and they transported it somewhere. So when you see an upside down staircase, what was really cut out of the side of the cliff was a perfect staircase. But when they extract it using whatever technology they were using to cut a whole staircase out as one piece, and then move it and relocate it from the area to where it couldn't be discovered anywhere in that general location, what was left was an upside down staircase. But we don't know what kind of technology it was. It's like some type of 3D printing fracture fracture quarrying. That's the best way I can explain it. It's when they can use some type of software to 3D map solid rock, the interior of that rock, and then use a technology to shape out the part that they want. And then they activate something, a trigger or electrical pulse or whatever it is, and all of a sudden every bit of it fractures perfectly according to the model that was being projected into the solid stone. And then they can just pull it out and remove the whole staircase out, leaving behind an upside down staircase. We've seen many, many examples of this in South America. I am not going to sit here and pretend to understand how that technology was done, but fossils are created relatively fast. Here's another example. This is in France. Here is cast iron pot, just like any of them that you would see in the 17, 18, 1900s. Here is a cast iron pot, but this one was found in 300 million year old coal. Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely, it boggles the mind that people were using cast iron pots to make shit 300 million years ago. It blows my mind. It's so dumb. All right, probable Roman shipwreck. Here's another famous figurine. Yeah, the Arkansas Stone Baby. Arkansas Stone Baby found deep underground. Inexplicable how it got there. Cute little baby. Doesn't look anything like a Native American. Found in charcoal. Look at this. Look at this. I'm blowing this up. Do you see this lockbox? This lockbox is 800 years old. The locks on top have 4 billion possible combinations. You're never going to get in that box. Here's a ring that looks like a watch. Has dials on it and everything. But it's found from the Ming Dynasty, China. It's for crazy. 2,000 years ago. It's crazy. We can go on. We'll talk about that. This is all Mul Appin. There's that again. There's that black sphere I was showing you from Stonehenge. Nemesis X. Look at this. What is that? It's of technological provenance, whatever it is. I'm not going to pretend to know what it is, but there it is. It's a fossil. This wheel. 300 million year old wheel. How'd that happen? Oh, this is famous too. What was this doing in Ecuador? This is a bowl, a stone bowl. Look at that decorative art. A stone bowl found in Ecuador. It's like 2,000 years old at least. At least. The problem with the stone bowl in Ecuador is that it's full of Proto-Sumerian cuneiform. How'd that happen? How'd that happen? I'm just basically showing you this is all old. We have been technologically advanced before. There's absolutely no doubt. We also had reasons to make guns. Yes, we made guns in ancient times because there were things trying to eat us. So this is a bullet hole. Huge difference between a sling bullet and a bullet hole. It has everything to do with velocity. Exit wound, entry and exit wounds can be studied by specialists, and they know if something was at super high velocity or if it's a low velocity bolide, like a sling stone. They know. And these are bullet holes. I showed that one earlier. Yeah, somebody shot that perfectly in the head. They knew exactly how to kill that big bad boy. Look at that. This guy took a bullet in the forehead. This guy took a bullet dead center of his forehead. It's a whole different one here. That might have been a bullet right there when they did that surgery with that lead plate. Might have been. This one took one in the side of the ear. This is like a double tap. Somebody want to make sure took him out the game. I want to make sure he was going to go. Here's another one. Look at that. That is a bullet hole. Look at that. 150,000-year-old Neanderthal killed by a modern rifle? It's so crazy. So I've showed you the spheres. You know what? I'm going to show you just a few more, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. This requires an insane amount of trigonometry. It requires an insane amount of engineering in order to get a multi-ton sphere into a perfect curvature all the way around of pi proportions. Yeah, this isn't an easy feat, guys. It's not an easy feat. Moving to the next one. So we know that we were technologically advanced 5,000 years ago. We know because of this here. You can let Egyptologists gaslight the shit out of you all you want, but anybody with a little intellectual honesty would know. I mean, you're looking at a gigantic building complex. It's got enough stone in the Great Pyramid of Egypt. There's enough stone to build 20 Empire State Buildings. It's massive, solid. The precision, we've talked about it many times in the past, so I'm not dwelling on it here. But the precision, measurements, angles, planes, high tolerances involved in the building of the Great Pyramid defy anything that was necessary for such a structure. But the very fact that it was done with these differential locking mechanisms using gravity as a force, where a 100-pound female could easily push, if she knew where to push, she could easily push a 10-ton door and open up the Great Pyramid. They were counterbalanced, but not all the force in the world could force it open. But there was a place where you could barely apply pressure and the door would open. We don't build anything like that today. This is solid masonry, 203 levels, 2.5 million blocks of stone. And every block had to be perfect or none of it would fit together right. Cyclopean masonry. We were technologically advanced. There's evidence of all of this being machined. Yeah, none of this is natural. We're looking at 5,000 years of history. Even the quarrying was done by machines. We've seen the evidence of it. No hammer and chisels were used to quarry out these megalithic structures. This stuff was, they used tractors, heavy equipment, cranes, hoists, machines. They used all that. Transportation devices. And as I'll show you in this video, and I've shown you in the past, whole track systems have been laid all over this world. that were used to convey all kinds of things. Yeah, none of this was done in the uniformitarian Egyptological bullshit narrative of a whole bunch of slaves all working under taskmasters to build all this shit. It was all done using heavy equipment and machines, and it was done thousands of years ago. Here's a track mechanism. This track right here could be the very crane mechanism that went up and down the entire Grand Gallery to help build the entire Great Pyramid all the way up to that point and even higher before they had to close off the Grand Gallery. That one area could have been a crane mechanism used to build it all. It's right here. There's the track from some giant machine that used to be inside the Grand Gallery. There's the bottom of the Grand Gallery. You can see the track system clear as day down here. Again, here's a mold. We don't know what it was for. All of this was machined. It was put together by machined. The individual blocks were machined. The tolerances are too high. The angles are too perfect. The mathematical relationships found inside the Great Pyramid defy anything that ordinary men just building with blocks could have ever done. Look at this. 5,000 years ago, we know technology existed 5,000 years ago. It's staring us in the face, no matter how they try to gaslight us. This guy is measuring tolerance. Tolerance shows how flat and smooth something is. Some of the stones from the ancient world have a higher tolerance than the marble on the side of bank buildings, meaning they are more perfect and more smooth than the highly polished marble that impresses us today. Upside down staircase. This is all evidence of technology. That's what's so mysterious about it. That's why everybody's on social media posting all these pictures. How'd they do this? Oh, we can't do this. And then you got some guys who figured it all out. There's a whole clique off to the side. They figured it all out. Yeah, man. Tartarians built it all. There's one of those holes bored right there. We saw how that's done. The pipe itself was the drill. It pulled the core out. This is all evidence of technology. Not of manual labor. This is technology. And all of it's very, very old. It's a world that we don't know anything about. I'm trying to get through these pretty fast because we still got ways to go. Yeah, this right here wasn't left here for this purpose. What you're looking at right now is what was left behind after they fracture quarried a whole piece off of this. We don't know what they removed, but we have a good idea of what one side of the shape of it was that it was removed because they left this behind. But the part they left behind isn't the part that was of value. It's the part that was removed that was of value. Look at all this. Look at this. This is a conduit. Cables. You don't do nothing goes in here but cables. Do you see the conduit right here? This is cable. Cables go through. These are cable routes. The cables go to components that are right here. We found quite a few of those. Look, here's more evidence. Remember I told you what the knobs are? A lot of people talking about, man, what are these knobs and all that? I told you how in contract work, sometimes I had to have a crew come in because I was a flagstone mason, but sometimes I had to have concrete put in. And when that crew would come, that contracting crew would come, they would often have to use a boom. Well, a boom requires somebody to knock the boogers off because it's not going to stop perfectly when the boom is a long pipe. and it's pumped. Liquid concrete is pumped through the boom, and the boom is directed by somebody, and they are filling a space in. And if the water content is just right, you can actually pour concrete sideways and shape it as you're putting it on. If it's got too much moisture, it's just going to slag down. It's going to like mud. But I've been telling people for years those boogers, which in the truther community they're calling them nubs, they're calling them the nubs on the stones. But those are what was left behind by the boom. Though they would have been sanded down, ground down, and polished out. But as I've showed you in many presentations, the worldwide Heliolithic building culture was interrupted, and they never had a chance to finish any of these megalithic structures, megalithic walls. There was the Phoenix returned in the month of May of 1687 BC. The Ogygian deluge interrupted every one of these building projects. That's why the largest blocks in all these centers were all found still in the quarry. They thought they had more time, but they didn't. All this is covered in Archaics, but they poured these stones. They didn't set these stones. None of these stones right here, especially evidence of stones that are folded like this, it's because they shaped them in place. And those knobs and nubs, whatever they're calling them, those are just the boogers left from the booms. When you pull the boom away, it leaves a booger. And they'll just shape it. They'll just shape the booger nice right there, and then later on come back and they'll just cut that thing off and then grind it down. But they never finished any of these projects. They were interrupted by a cataclysm. Good book by Brian Forster. You know, he was supposed to come on my channel and just talk about the book, but he just kind of faded away. He just kind of faded away. This is all machined. This is inside the Great Pyramid. This is all machined. Every bit of it's machined. It's too perfect. And these are imperfect, but they're perfect for what they do. These were intentionally left rough like that. These are called the relieving chambers. These are to offset the immense amount of pressure above to keep the king's chamber from collapsing underneath all that weight. These deflect the weight to the sides and keep the core weight from the third of the pyramid up from crushing down on the king's chamber. It's genius. It's genius what they did. Yeah. Ancient ruins defy explanation because, like this one here, the actual blocks are rounded. They're rounded at 3.14, just like the whole circle. It's like, how did they do this individually with each block? These are boogers. That's a booger. They're calling them nubs, but that's fine. But this is what the boom leaves behind after it's filled the area with the stone material that they want us to do. Yeah, this is all synthetic stone, every bit of it. These are not quarried. The stone is quarried, then it's liquefied, and then they liquefy it and they turn around and pour it into place. Again, cylindrical towers, very difficult to make. All machined. We don't know what some of the functions are. We just don't. Look at that one. What the hell did they pull out of here? What in the hell did this thing hold? They fracture quarried that right on out. Lifted it straight out the ground, whatever it was. Yeah, man. These weren't set up. These aren't blocks that were quarried, cut, and then no, man. All this, every bit of this, all these were made in molds. Puma Punka. So I need to get through this file. I'm just showing you we don't have to assume that we were technologically advanced thousands of years ago. We have direct proofs all over the world. All over the world. And we don't need a single academic or scholar to tell us we were. We can see by the evidence of our own eyes that, yeah, man, there's no doubt that all this is inexplicable without technology. Yeah, massive complexes that have great acoustic value. Things that are these are inexplicable. Yeah, man. Look at this lock system going into the Great Chamber. This is the antechamber going into the Great Pyramid. It's never been satisfactorily explained. Egyptologists can't even explain what the hell this is because it's a machine and they don't know what it does. So crazy. There it is right there. It's missing components, but this doesn't make any sense. That's the entrance to the Great Pyramid right there. Look at all that. The entrance, the top of the Grand Gallery going into the antechamber going into the King's Chamber. None of this makes sense. It's all made out of very specific and varying stone compositions. It's got rose granite, it's got white granite, it's got dark granite, it's got limestone block right here. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense as far as being the burial place for a pharaoh that was never found inside of it. Yeah, it's something else. Perfect. Yeah, some of these might be going over. Some of them, look at that. Isn't that cool? Look at that. How did they do that? They put a jaguar in the wall by using darker stone. They put a snake in the wall by using darker stone. Perfectly fit together. You think they were quarried that way? Hell no. You think they were chiseled that way? Hell no. They were shaped that way. How do we know? There's a big old booger right there. That's how we know. High tolerance. There's another conduit. Look at this. Why the precision? Massive blocks. Look at that. What do you think did that? Because that's a perfect cut. Somebody was playing around with some technology. They were trying to figure out how to use it, or they were perfecting their craft. Look at that. That's an ancient shitter. Yeah. Do you really think somebody made that and fit it in there like that? Come on. That's the entrance to the Great Pyramid. These chevrons are specifically designed by that way to offset the massive amount of weight above them so the tunnel doesn't collapse. What genius thought of that 5,000 years ago? Do you really think somebody shaped this, quarried it perfect to dimensions, and fit it in there among other stones, and then fit other stones after shaping them to it? No, man. No, they didn't. How do we know? Because look, they never polished off the boogers. They're all over the look. They're everywhere. Anyway, we should be look at that ancient piano. How'd that happen? I know it's not a piano. According to archaeologists, officially, this is a ritual object. For fuck's sake. Look how perfect these are. That's a bad picture there. Great Pyramid again. This is Egypt right here too. That precision, descending passage and ascending passage entry. Look at this geometry. it's too perfect. It's almost as if the Great Pyramid was 3D printed by a technology that we do not understand after AI was used to make sure it was in perfect proportions before the work even began. You didn't need this precision, but they did it anyway. That's the internal arrangements of the Great Pyramid. Absolutely precise. And you have to understand these inclines and declinations remain true. They remain true to hundredths of an inch, going through layers and layers and layers and courses and courses and courses and levels and levels and levels of hundreds of thousands of tons of blocks. How in the hell did they do that? They did it because it was all built by machines. That's how. Am I ever going to get to the end of this file? Look at that precision. Look at that. How beautifully perfect that is. All right, I got to the end of that file. Whew. Good. All right. So, file, it's been an hour. We started an hour ago and we only got through file number A. I may need to hurry. I may need to hurry. So, this is your takeaway from this section before we move on. 5,000 years ago, we were technologically advanced because you could not have built all these things without this level of sophistication. Now, I will concede that some of the pictures I showed from South America are not 5,000 years old. They're a lot sooner, within 25 to 27 centuries old. But we were technologically advanced multiple times in the past, as you've seen evidence of with. That's your only takeaway. I'm not trying to prove anything, and I'm not trying to claim anything other than the fact is that we were technologically advanced in the ancient world. We can haggle over dates later. The only takeaway is sometime in the ancient world we were technologically advanced, and evidence of that is found all over the world in inexplicable megalithic ruins that defy explanation outside the context of having been built by an advanced culture. That's all. That's the only takeaway. So let's move forward. We go to the next. We go to B now. File number B. We're gonna go a lot faster now. Excuse me. So file number B is that at some point in the ancient world, we found something out and we had to get off the surface, and we started building using that same technology, excavating technology. We started building underground sanctuaries. Now, we're not even going to talk about when or why, but all we know from the facts, and that the fact is we have 59 underground cities and facilities that have been found in Turkey alone. A couple have been found, I'll show you here, in China, a couple more in Malta, several of them throughout South America. We know this. You're looking at Derinkuyu, just one of the 59 underground cities in Turkey. Something forced us underground. And that's where we went. Humans were staying down here. Something forced us underground. Like I said, we've done other videos on Derinkuyu, but for some reason, and we've even cited the legends and Phrygian traditions that talk about what happened, but they're not the subject matter of this video. Something forced us underground. And according to tradition, we stayed there for decades. decades. Derinkuyu is awesome because they got their water and they got their airflow from an underground river. Underneath Turkey, an underground river provided fresh air and water to all these underground facilities. I'm just going through these fast. Well, we need. Okay, I think that's it. That's it for the Derinkuyu. All right. So we have a similar place in China. Again, we don't have much history. There's nothing in the historical record that tells us about this place. And it was only recently discovered. These are the Longyao caves in China. Underground facility. Look at this place. What's crazy about it is the Longyao caves in China is literally located on a place called what's it called? Can you read that? It's called Phoenix Hill. Well, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Underground facility in China, directly underneath a hill called Phoenix Hill. How'd that happen? How did that happen? But China, that's just not the only one. There's so many. We're not going through all of them, but there's so many of them. There's just so many. So this looks identical to Derinkuyu, but it's not. It's Malta. We're going to Malta again. 5,400 years ago, 5,000 to 4,000 years ago, something forced the people in Malta to build these elaborate temples that could hold thousands of people inside and safely away from the sun through thick temple rock. Most of these temples are all underground. Several skeletons taken from these temples all have very long skulls. Remember, we've talked about what vapor canopy does. The changes that vapor canopy conditions cause under an extreme high pressure environment. Does this not look like Derinkuyu all over again? Yeah. And what's crazy is the upper areas of the temples at Malta look identical to what we have found at Göbekli Tepe. You have a video coming on that in the future. Remember, I've been telling you guys for a long time that Göbekli Tepe is nowhere near as old as they're claiming. They don't even want to address the fact that writing has now been found at Göbekli Tepe, which should shave 5,000 years off of it just like that. They've misdated it from the beginning, but they're sticking to their guns. They keep finding statuary that belongs in the 26th century BC, but they don't want to address that. They keep finding all these other places in the ancient world that have the exact same symbols, sigils, pillars, and architectural styles, all date to 26th to 23rd century BC everywhere in the world. And I have a massive data set on this showing you all these places around the world that have all this and all, but at Göbekli Tepe, they've already dated it 8,000 BC and they're sticking to their guns. Yeah, man. So crazy. It's just so crazy. Mystery of Malta's long-headed skulls. I would date a Nephilim chick. So 6'6" chick with a long skull. Yeah, I'd do it just to have right off my bucket list. I mean, she's still gonna be human, just human in a vapor canopy environment. Yeah, man. Underground facilities are all over, and you have to understand they were probably well kept back then. They were probably very well kept back then. This is thousands of years later. David Hatcher Childress shows several of them in his books in his Lost City series that were found in South America. But your takeaway here is that we went underground. And according to the skulls that were found here, we went underground when it was a vapor canopy period. Look at that. It's crazy, huh? Yeah, man, I wouldn't even play chess with this guy. He's like, man, I wouldn't have a chance. I wouldn't have a chance, man. There's long skulls. There's statues of long skulled people, man. I gotta move though. I got to stick and move, stick and move. So we're going to our next. We're going to the next deal. So after a period of time, we came back to the surface. But when we came back to the surface, we no longer had that really precise technolithic architecture. In archaics, we have divided the architecture of the ancient world. The oldest and most advanced is technolithic, which was coined by James O'Con. After that, we have Heliolithic. The Heliolithic is after the sun appeared in the sky. The vapor canopy was gone. Heliolithic architecture was inferior, but in often cases, the blocks were bigger. They were just inferior. It was an inferior usage of superior technology. It's like the people who came back to the surface, either the environment was different and their technology wasn't as good, or they had lost how to use that technology when they had come back. This is after the cataclysm when they started building again. Heliolithic architecture gets a little messier. It just gets messier, guys. I'm going to go through this fast. Yeah, that's messier. That's Machu Picchu. There's like a blur between Technolithic and Heliolithic, and in my Chronicon, I'm often calling it post-Technolithic. It's not quite as good as Technolithic, but it's a little better than straight pure Heliolithic. I'm just going through the file pretty fast. Some of these pictures are mixed in there. This is the Lion's Gate at Argos, Mycenae. So you get the idea. It's still grandiose. It's still very impressive, but it's lost that technolithic precision. It's a that shouldn't be in there. It is a post cataclysm world. It's after the cataclysm. Maybe there were environmental factors as to why their technology no longer worked as good as it did before the cataclysm, but the evidence is very clear that the architecture post cataclysm was inferior. All right, so we're going to move on. You get the idea. You get the idea. So something appeared in the Heliolithic that was not existent in the Technolithic period. This is a fundamental fact. There are no pre-flood statues. Statuary, idols, icons, and stuff have not been found for the antediluvian period. Technolithic architecture is absolutely devoid of statuary. But after the cataclysm, during the Heliolithic building phase, before the next cataclysm called the Ogygian Deluge, every single ancient megalithic metropolis was adorned with statues. Now statues were in vogue. Here they are. Easter Island. Easter Island. Easter Island. That's all Easter Island. Look at this. Look at this. I've shown you guys 5 years ago the similarities between these symbols and ones that are found identical at Göbekli Tepe. Easter Island. Look at the size of these. There is a pillar statue at Göbekli Tepe that looks almost identical to this. The way he's got his fingers folded over like a belt buckle, just like that. Anthropomorphic statue. Here's Tiwanaku, the same anthropomorphic statue with the fingers folded across the navel is found at Göbekli Tepe. It's also found multiple times at Easter Island. Look at this, in situ. This is a massive moai, however you say it, one of those Easter Island statues still in situ. But I got to hurry, man. We got way too much to go through. This is Tiwanaku. Look at that. Imagine that. You know, it defies explanation. That might be a clue as to how Easter Island totally ended. It might be a clue. They might be trying to tell us and warn the whole world, hey, man, watch out for them people wearing these hats. These hats here will fuck you off. More bird cult sigils. Very similar to Göbekli Tepe. Underwater, off the coast of Easter Island. Off the coast of Easter Island, you got the same statues underwater, just hanging out. But this was a trait of the Heliolithic, not just anthropomorphic statues, but they were like playing a game, like who's got the bigger beep? You know what I'm talking about, because Baalbek has the giant megalith that was still in the quarry. Egypt has the most giant obelisk ever. It was still in the quarry. Easter Island has the largest statue ever, was still in the quarry. They were interrupted. That's why the boogers were found all over the Heliolithic architecture. They were interrupted. They never finished their building projects. There's the one at the quarry. It was huge. Yeah, Easter Island's got some. This is Göbekli Tepe. Very close to the same statues at Easter Island and Tiwanaku. Easter Island again. Here's Easter Island again. Easter Island. Here's Easter Island again. Damn, is that McDonald's? Easter Island. So compelling. It's amazing, really. So Heliolithic symbols are everywhere. And that's what you find at Göbekli Tepe too. Can't make this stuff up. There's going to come a time in the future, maybe not in this generation, when the people excavating Göbekli Tepe are finally going to admit, okay, all these Tepe and Huyuk sites were buried because of a cataclysm. They weren't deliberately buried, and they're not 10,000 years old. It's getting ridiculous listening to all the reports coming out of Göbekli Tepe. The things they have to omit, they don't want to talk about. It's just ridiculous, man. These places are not that old. They're not. These are Heliolithic symbols. This is after the cataclysm. Yeah, those fingers folded over toward the buckle, that's the same thing as at Tiwanaku. It's the same thing at Göbekli Tepe. And they say and archaeologists claim Easter Island's only 1,000 years old. The statues on Easter Island are only 1,000, even though they're buried up to their necks. It's only 1,000 years old. But almost identical statues at Göbekli Tepe, because they're buried underground, are 10,000 years old. It doesn't even make sense. Doesn't even make sense. We need to get through this. Heliolithic symbols. Hey, isn't that interesting? I almost said Easter Island, but it's not Easter Island. It's Göbekli Tepe. Easter Island right there. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I would love to tell you that this pillar is at Easter Island. I would really love to tell you that it's at Tiahuanaco in Bolivia in the Andes Mountains at 12,000 foot altitude. But it's not. This pillar right here is at Göbekli Tepe. That's Göbekli Tepe right there. What? An anthropomorphic pillar? It's Heliolithic architecture. That's what it is. There's the bird cult. We keep seeing it at Göbekli Tepe. There it is again. There's the handbags that your buddy Graham Hancock won't talk about. There's your little old handbags. Yeah, dated to the 26th century BC and later, everywhere in the world where they have been found hundreds of times in iconography, except Göbekli Tepe. They're 10,000 years old. So stupid. All right, so now you get it. Now you get it. That's Heliolithic architecture. It's Heliolithic symbols. That's Rongo Rongo. I have a video called Fingers of the Bird Cult that talks about a lot of this too. This is Göbekli Tepe too. Look at those. What do they look like? Looks like little dinosaurs to me. Looks like young chickenosauruses looking to cut their teeth. All right, I think we've seen enough. Move on. That's Heliolithic symbols. So let's move on. So you guys saw, I showed you, we have gone through files A, B, and C. We're now going to go into file D. But what I showed you is that we have been technologically advanced in the past and the evidence is all over the world. I have showed you that something forced humans underground. Maybe not all humans, but enough humans to where we built over 60 to 70 underground facilities and we stayed there for decades. Now, I have shown you that when we came back to the surface, our architecture was inferior. Our building techniques were inferior. And it seems to me that something happened that interrupted the post-cataclysm campaigns. Because for hundreds of years we were building, and then all of a sudden everybody was interrupted at the exact same time, which is what I show in my published books. I show that the hammers and the chisels and the tools, archaeologists are baffled because all over the world and all these megalithic sites, all these work benches and work tools were found in situ, laying on the ground where these sites are, as if all the workers got panicked and ran away. And this has been found at multiple locations around the world where we have the largest megalithic metropolises. So that would have been 1687 BC, the Ogygian Deluge. So now we go to file E. Oh, I'm sorry. I lied to you. We're going to file D. That was A, B, and C. Now we're going to file D. After the cataclysm, all of a sudden life forms start growing smaller. How'd that happen? How did that happen? Because we didn't realize at that time that we were anything but normal. Animals were normal. Trees were normal. We had no frames of reference for understanding that it's quite possible that if the environment changes, all of a sudden our sons and daughters are going to be smaller and our grandchildren are going to be tiny. The same thing happened in the world of plants, trees. The same thing happened in the world of animals. Flora, fauna, and humans were affected by a new environment. So let's look at that real quick. Because we've been gaslit by uniformitarians into believing in ages of the earth that do not exist and presenting scenarios for which defy the actual facts of what we have found. So let's look at this series of charts here. Now, you can see ordinary sized mammals on the bottom and ducks and creatures on the bottom. But in ancient times, these things grew to humongous sizes. But humans were here with them. These are skeletons of modern day kangaroos. And they're no different than the skeletons of ancient kangaroos who didn't even live very long ago. The entire world of megafauna was wiped out in a single event. Wiped out. And the koala bear that we have today that you see down here on the bottom of the screen, before the cataclysm was this size and looked like this, but it's the exact same animal. The difference is environment, not genetics. It's environment. Here's our modern day black caiman crocodile on the bottom. But its predecessor is this huge beast right here, baby Godzilla. Here's an elephant of modern times. But this right here is some type of quadruped mammal pre-cataclysm that roamed the earth. It would have been bovine, would have been a plant eater, no threat to us whatsoever. But then again, before the cataclysm, we weren't this size either. Now, before you get to thinking Book of Enoch and Jewish gaslighting proportions, we weren't that much bigger. Yeah. I mean, we're big by today's standards, 9 foot, 9.5 feet, but we weren't the legendary proportions people are talking about, 20 foot giants, 25, that's all bullshit. No, but we were about 9.5 to 10 foot tall pre-cataclysm. Here are the size differences. This isn't, your uniformitarians want you to believe that these are Ice Age and more ancient prehistoric creatures, and these are the ancestors of the modern versions, but there are no genetic variations. They are the exact same creature in a different environment. This is an older pre-cataclysm environment when we had a totally different atmosphere, totally different pressure, ambient light, ambient radiation. We've discussed all that. The vapor canopy world was different. Things grew differently. Here's the comparisons. Look at this. King Kong is huge. Look at this. These are the size comparisons. Pre-cataclysm and post-cataclysm. Pre-cataclysm and post-cataclysm. Look, that wouldn't have been regarded as a bird. That's a dinosaur. That would have been a monster. Boars are already among the toughest things in the world. I can't imagine a boar that size. Yeah, a titanoboa. I don't even want to see that thing in nature. I don't even want to go to a zoo and see something like that. Yeah. I'm not sure penguins would be that friendly if they were that size. Huge. Let's get through this file. We go. Look at the size of these, man. Golly. Golly, man. Ancient beaver. Now, why would the beavers be so big? Well, you should see the size of the trees in the pre-cataclysm world. Even the turtles were big. Look at these size comparisons. Post-cataclysm, pre-cataclysm. Ammonite. Komodo dragons. Wow, they're already big. Let's see. This is when I asked Grok how, comparing all the megafauna to their present counterparts, how big would have humans have been? And it told me 10 feet. Yeah, Grok went through all the arithmetic, body mass index, went through all human and anatomical. Oh, there it is right there. It says going by the size of Ice Age creatures compared to their present counterparts, humans would have been 13 foot 0 inches tall. And we have found several skeletons at that height. Let's see. Yeah. Anyway, we got through that file. Oh, I'm going somewhere with all this, guys. Here's pre-cataclysm insects as opposed to post-cataclysm insects. Some of you ladies are not going to want to see this. Guys, you're going to think this is the coolest part of the presentation. So, yeah, we have modern counterparts are right here, even on the chart with the man. Pre-cataclysm, that would have been the size of a crab or a spider. Pre-cataclysm, here's the size of a centipede. Listen, man, I don't come here, Seth Black. I'm not trying to hear all that dinosaurs are a hoax. We already know they're faking dinosaurs in museums, but it does not make all the actual skeletons that we have found of gigantic reptiles and amphibians untrue. They are vapor canopy life forms. That's what they are. All they are is the exact same life forms we have on Earth today, but giant sizes. It's the woodlouse, ammonite, dragonfly. Oh, wow. So a present dragonfly is a little tiny thing right here. Here's the size comparison. Look how big. Yeah, that would have been a massive. Would have been a massive. That's 2 meters. 6 feet. Yeah, these insects compared to a modern man. I would not want to see anything like that at all, man. I don't want to see anything like these creatures at all. Yeah. Yeah, all the dinosaurs is all bullshit. We understand that. We use the word basically for vapor canopy reptiles, amphibians, the creatures that come here by cycle through what we know of as parthenogenesis. If you're new to my channel, you have no idea what we're talking about. It is a phenomenon. What we call dinosaurs is cyclical. They keep coming back, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. They're just giant reptiles and giant amphibians, giant avians, giant fish. Look at the size. Here's the actual size of these spiders. But this is how big they are compared to modern man in pre-cataclysm environment. Golly, man. That's scary. So, once you understand that all these life forms that were here 4,000 and 5,000 years ago, they were those sizes then. But I'm also going to show you direct proof that they were also here a whole lot more recently. Very recent. So recent, in fact, that many of the trees of the very forests that those giant animals and insects lived in with giant humans are still standing today. Those forests some of those trees still exist today. Now, none of them are over 4,500 years ago, but that's really telling that they're all just under that date and age and under. It's very telling. We're not going to spend much time here either because we got several videos to talk about these giant trees from this time period. Biggest trees in the world. So it's no mystery. If the plants and trees of that world were gigantic, it's no mystery that the animals were going to be equally big. It's no mystery that the insects were going to be equally big. It's no mystery that we have records of humans being gigantic, and the rest of the animals of the forest didn't fear them. Why? Because their size was proportionate to the size of them. So what happened between the pre-cataclysm world and the post-cataclysm world? It was a change of environment. And the change of environment is what caused everything to start becoming smaller and smaller and smaller after the cataclysm. Big trees, big trees. These are just examples, big trees. I'm not going to dwell on this. Gigantic, beautiful trees all over the place. Well, they're not all over the place. They're in the American Midwest. Actually, they're in the Sierra Nevadas. They're the California bristlecone pines and the California redwoods are in the Sierra Nevadas and in California, Oregon, and Washington. And there might be a few in Idaho, but the Dawnwood pines and the coastal redwoods are also on the coast of California. Yeah, man. So if we have this much evidence of forests that were this big, then it's no secret. If the forests are still alive, if residual pieces of that world still exist today, then that means those animals weren't that long ago. They weren't. When these trees first started growing, those gigantic animals and humans were alive and thriving. It was a pre-cataclysm world. So, you get the idea. We're not going to go through all these. You guys know I got hundreds of pictures. I'm going to go through all of them. Get out of there. So it's just knowing that some animals under the right conditions can grow to huge sizes even today in temperate areas, in lowland valleys, in swampy marshes and fens, tropical areas, jungles, large deep lakes. Some creatures can grow way bigger than average and normal even today. Environment has everything to do with the size of a creature. So here are some animals that grew to immense sizes that have been documented. These are just examples that if things can grow even under a post-cataclysm sky, even in this time period, imagine how big they would have been under pristine conditions. Look at that, man. How did that tree get in there? Man, that's a monster. 28-foot crocodile, Queensland, Australia. Wanted to know why they found Australia almost empty when y'all got there. Shit, here it is. That's a monster. Yeah, I'm not showing no videos. All right. All right, we have got file 1 hour and 37 minutes. That's good. Fine structure, constant 137.37. And we got the first 4 files done. So here's where it starts getting very unusual. Here's where it starts getting very unusual, because the pictures I'm about to show you now are all dated from the time period after the cataclysm. The environment has changed, but it didn't kill off all the life forms in the world. There's still a whole bunch of pre-cataclysm life forms. They're struggling, they're dying off, they're becoming rarer, and they're becoming smaller, but the world is still full of them. How do we know? Because of what has been found. I'm going to show it to you now. These all date between 3,000 and 1,500 years ago. No, I'm sorry. These all date between 3,500 BC and 1,500 BC. Still got a lot of. I told you we had 1,000 images to go through, and we ain't even got through half of them. We have some really unusual creatures found on the Ishtar Gate. They're not the only ones. They're also found in Egyptian art. The same creature found in Egyptian art. That's the Narmer palette. We have petroglyphs dated to this period that show anatomically correct what we call prehistoric creatures. Now, a lot of people want to say, "Hey, man, dinosaurs don't exist." But there are some creatures that are depicted as dinosaurs that are just large reptiles and large reptilians, and we have found evidence of them all over the world, all over the world. Brontosaurus is one of them. This is a Brontosaurus, and we have found much proof that humans very recently knew these creatures were alive and even ate them and domesticated them. All right, here's more style. This is just style. These are stylized artwork of what are basically known as dinosaurs. It is Sumerian. This is stylized artwork right there. That's stylized. This is stylized. So an American antiquarian, they believe that this is a stylized Brontosaurus, and they believe it for a few reasons. They believe this is a stylized reptile here. They believe it for a few reasons, as I'll show you when I show you the Roman artifacts. Here's some type of dragon creature in a petroglyph. We don't know what it is, but you can see the dorsal fins on the back. Maybe a spiked tail. We've already seen that one. Here's another creature this is like a stegosaurus with dorsal fins on the back. If you think stegosauruses are fantasy dinosaurs, then you need to pay attention, because over 1,000 years ago, men had figurines of stegosauruses, and they even etched stegosauruses into the reliefs and bas relief of ancient temples. Again, a Brontosaurus. You can clearly see the Brontosaurus in red right here. How did they know what an anatomically correct Brontosaurus looked like? How did they know? Bear with me here. I got some files to show you. So many of you have seen the Akambaro artifacts. I have to show them here because they're relevant. They date to this period. These date to the pre and post cataclysm era. They could be just before or just after that period, but we can't ignore. These were verified by Charles Hapgood, who went and visited the site to authenticate them and make sure that these 35,000 figurines were authentic. But we have figurines of all kinds of very unusual people with long skulls. There's their utensils. But These people have figurines of anatomically correct triceratops and different quadruped saurian type reptiles. The scientific world has remained absolutely silent about the Acambaro 35,000 Acambaro artifacts. Absolutely silent. That guy there, he's getting eaten head first. It's crazy, man. How many figurines are in here? Brontosauruses? Look at that. There's so many of them. That's a big dorsal fin on that one. It's crazy. It's an actual Acambaro figurine found in Mexico underneath the desert. All dated to about 4,000 years ago. If that's not bad enough, dated at the exact same time are the Giralfo artifacts. Or Girifalco artifacts that were only found after a landslide. And researchers believe that it's an anatomically correct Stegosaurus figurine. There's a horse and a rider, Stegosaurus. You see the legs right here of the Stegosaurus. There's the head, dorsal fins. This is the figurine that was with her, with the Stegosaurus. another statue that was with the Stegosaurus. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. But it was after the cataclysm when we resurfaced, we found the world very different. Animals were getting smaller. We were getting smaller. But the fact that there were these punctuated cataclysms that seemed to bring giants back temporarily and giant creatures back temporarily, but they never hang around long. And in archaics, we theorize that it has everything to do with the change of environment. The environment doesn't stay. It's not conducive for giantism. So all those species go back to their normal sizes and giants fade out and die. So we have so much evidence of giants from the ancient world, it cannot be ignored as we haven't. So I'm going to go through this file pretty fast, get it out the way. But we've gone through a lot of this in the past about giants. And when we say giants here in archaics, we're talking about 9 to 10 foot tall anatomically correct humans. It's a little dude right there. There's a giant. This is just an artist conception. This is a Native American art. Here's Gilgamesh holding a fully maned lion. Yeah. Here's a normal man next to a maned lion. That's a fully maned lion. That's Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was described as 2 parts Titan, 1 part giant. Yeah, man. Look at that. We got all kinds of historic giants in history. Look closely at this picture. All these people are the same size, except for look at these two. Look at these two. Look at these two with these are people on horseback. Look at these two. Those two, and then a few people back here in this crowd. The rest of them are all the same size. All of them are human, just regular people. Gilgamesh again. This is the Sumerian artwork. These are the Lugals sitting on the chairs. The men stand up on their feet serving the Lugals. The Lugals sitting on their chairs are way bigger and taller than the men that are standing up. There's a Lugal. Ordinary Sumerians. Remember, the Lugals were the big men. And I explained to you guys that in Sumerian text we found an instance where they had to create new legislation to keep the Lugals in check because they were people were intimidated by them because of their size. So the Lugals were forced by law to pay the same prices at the market as everybody else. Now, you're gonna get gaslit a lot into being told that, well, they just made the kings real big and everybody else is real small, and that's true in some artwork, but in a lot of artwork, those people were really that much bigger, like the steel of Naram Sin. Here's Esarhaddon the Assyrian. This right here would be his children. Here are sea peoples. Look how big the sea peoples were compared to ordinary men. This is the steel of Naram Sin. Look at the size of this dude. A lot of people think he was actually Gilgamesh also. Naram Sin was later a throne name. His earlier career, he was Bilgamesh, later called Gilgamesh. 2 parts Titan, 1 part giant. This is artist rendition. This is all artist renditions. But you see, when we're talking about giants, we're not talking about something so fantastical that's going to be some 20-foot tall freakoid. No, we're just talking about something slightly bigger, slightly taller. Thank you, Holly. Now look at that femur there. That would have been a huge human to have that femur. It's Jack and the Giant Killer. That's an action. I have that book in my library right now. Old giant helping build Stonehenge. There's a 7'6" human skeleton. More a lot of artist depictions. Patagonian giants. Here's the giants against the Shawnee. Here's the size of a man, according to the skeletons found in the mounds of the Ohio Mississippi mound builder civilization. Look at that. Where do we see those again? That's Puma Punka, Bolivia. Where do we see that? We saw that at Malta. Underground temples of Malta. This is in South Sonora, Mexico. Long skull. It's a vapor canopy, guys. I'm just going through it. We don't need to go through all this. Just gives you a great idea of what we're dealing with. That there is no mystery here. Humans have grown to extraordinary sizes. And I don't know if anybody else is promoting this. I just don't. Here's a Lugal and an ordinary Sumerian guy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this from anybody outside of Archaics. I don't know. But in my research, I explain over and over that bullshit you've been hearing from people about angels having sex with human women and that's where the origin of the Titans and the Giants come from is total bullshit. You know that the vapor canopy environment The volcanism, ambient radiation, ultraviolet light, increased air pressure underneath a watery sky which has no sun. The moon is the most dominant. These would have been shown to create giantism in plants and in animals. And this is where human giants come from, being conceived in a vapor canopy environment. Has nothing to do with that invented bullshit of angels having sex with human women. Yeah. Here's a modern man and a giraffe. Well, look at this. Here's two Africans next to a giraffe. What's the problem here? Could be a baby giraffe. It really could be a baby giraffe. But I'm just saying, we don't know that. Artist rendition. Look at this Egyptian art here. What? Look at this. What's all in this tree right here? All these weird animals in this tree. Look at the size of this Egyptian, man. All right. That's a big old dude there. So you get the idea. Giants are all a part of our traditions. From the beginning. We have found the skeletons, we found their artifacts, we found all kinds of stuff. Historic giants. So go through this real fast too, because we've already covered it in prior presentations. It just needs to be reiterated here that we have been discovering skeletons and giant artifacts for a long period of time. Now, there may be all kinds of arguments about dating and when they're dated and all that. And we get that. But the only thing we're talking about here is that giant human skeletons have definitely been found. Giant artifacts and architecture belonging to men that were larger than us today. That's my only point here. Race of men were giants. There have been a lot of studies, a lot of articles written, and a lot of scientific papers that discuss all these anomalies. That's not what that's not the point of this discussion. Only the fact that giants have existed. Giant animals, giant trees, giant plants, and now giant humans have been found. That's the only point we're trying to make. Just showing you the titles. Seek knowledge of race of giants. Giant human skeletons 10 to 12 feet tall found in Mexican cave. Find a skeleton 1,600 years old. 10-foot giants in Mexico. Georgia sand dunes yielding startling proof of prehistoric race of giants. Men 8 foot tall once roamed in local forests. Ancient giant 14 foot in height discovered due to flooding. Skeleton of ancient giant 12 feet in height discovered on a farm. A giant skeleton 18 feet tall, Austin, Texas. Wow. So you get the idea. No sense going through all these. I got a bunch more. I'm not going through all of them. You get the idea. Check my chat. See what's going on here. Hey, Justin, you think you can give me a cup of coffee or something?
I got you.
Oh, you're sitting in here.
Yes, I am.
Man, I'd like a cup of coffee if you can make me one. So we're going somewhere with all this. We have been technologically advanced before. We hid in the underground before. Later on, we were back on the surface world. But that technolithic architecture that was so perfect in the oldest times was later inferior. It's Heliolithic. And with that inferior architecture, it's like a different phase of humanity. We had in our artwork things that we consider today to be prehistoric creatures, but we also brought into our artwork anthropomorphic ideas, which are not existent in the technolithic world. In the technolithic world, we did not have idols. We did not have statuary. We did not have anything like that. Everything was devoid of hieroglyphics, devoid of writing, but all the architecture was absolutely perfect and required machines to build. That's the oldest period. The period after that, it's Heleolithic. Now it's culturally artistic according to where in the world it was. But the architecture was inferior. But now we have statues that show all kinds of artistic stuff. And among our artwork are things that look like dinosaurs. And everything's dated within 3,500 to 4,000 years ago. That's what we've discussed so far. And that traditions of these giants have come all the way down to the present time. So let's keep on keeping on. Next file. We cannot help but notice that what began as a cataclysm and then a post-cataclysm world seems to be a cycle. Thank you, sir. That has repeated itself. This is my Jabba the Hutt mug right here. Ah, man, it's so good. Coffee's so good. Man, I'm even wearing my Glen Road shirt today. See the dinosaur footprints? Glen Rose, Texas. All right. We can't ignore that underground, just like Göbekli Tepe, just like Karen Tepe, just like Catalhuyuk and all the other Tepe and Huyuk sites, just like all the Sumerian cities. Like I just recently did a video about the 200,000 cuneiform tablets that have been found all over the world at 18 different underground locations. Underground, we have found human presence deep underground in different layers. Whole infrastructures have been found, cityscapes buried under levels of strata we have found all over the world. Underground human architecture, human remains, the remains of giants, giant architecture and relics, as I'm going to show some here in a minute. But underground, we have found evidence of human occupation, often accidentally found. Didn't even know it was there, just built on top of it. Now, in the Americas, we have found these at great depth, 200 to 600 foot depth. Whole pavements have been found, underground chambers, buildings, wells have pulled up artifacts as if ancient North America was just dumped on top of an older period that got buried. We have so much evidence of areas underground that we knew nothing about, and we're building our cities, and we digging out new wells, sewer cisterns, and cellars, and all of a sudden we come across a whole substrate of unknown architecture from an unknown period. This is all over the world. This right here is in Rockwall, Texas. This ended up being a huge conspiracy. Government ended up covering up a bunch of this. Things all found underground. That's in Spain. This was found in Spain, underground. Look at that, man. Again, it's not the subject of this video. This is just to show you, man, that we've been finding some really compelling shit. That's So let's go to Rockwall, Texas. That's a good one because they're going to gaslight the hell out of you about this place. Luckily, we got some pictures that survived from the late 1800s because the government's official stance, they covered this up. This is in Texas. A massive rock wall with windows and doors. This is one of the original pictures where they were studying the rock wall in Texas. Massive rock wall. They now have a local geologist. I called Rockwell, Texas. I live in Texas. I called Rockwell, Texas, civic center or county clerk and ask them who can I talk to? You have a museum like Glen Rose does? Do you have a museum that can show us about Rockwall? And everybody get in the Rockwall Community Center and the county office, they gaslit the shit out of me. Two different people gave me the same local geologist phone number. And all he does is debunk it. Oh, yeah, Rockwall, it's a natural rock formation. I would love if you would come out here to Rockwall, and I will give you a personalized tour. You don't even have to pay for it. Just come out here and I will walk you to it and I will show you this beautiful natural formation. Yeah. This moron's not going to show me a natural formation because I'm going to talk to locals who know where the real Rockwall is and not that dumbass shit he's going to show me. Yeah. That's I still plan on going. And if there's anybody from Rockwall, Texas, who knows some locals that have preserved some of this and they know exactly where to go, I would love to go. I'm not going to talk to that dumbass geologist who's there specifically to gaslight me. Not Yeah, these are original pictures showing, look, that's not natural. Those are windows. Somebody put keystone arch here. Yeah. That's not natural. Yeah, that mooring hole's not natural. Anyway, come to find out, it's a long contiguous wall of 25 miles. Yeah, it's not natural at all. And many people have found out for themselves that it's a prehistoric construction. But local geologists are going to gaslight you. But it was all found underground. So let's keep going. Let's keep going because we are going somewhere with this. You're going to have a massive aha moment in this video. The artifacts of giants have been found, which shouldn't be strange to anybody. It shouldn't be strange to anyone at all. These are Mycenaean. This shouldn't be strange to anyone at all that artifacts have been found of giant provenance if so many giant skeletons have been found. The size of those swords. No normal sized human is going to use those Hungarian swords. But you know who would use something like that? Somebody who was 9 foot tall. Those axes. Yeah, if you were 9 or 10 foot tall, that's your axe. Yeah, and if you were 9 or 10 foot tall, that would be the size of your molar right there. No doubt, man. No doubt. So, again, just for frames of reference, just so we can say we covered the bases. I showed you large snakes, alligators, fish that were alive within some of our lifetimes. So I have to show you as well. You can't discount that giants weren't alive 1,000 years ago at 8, 9, and 10 foot height. 1,000 years ago, when just in the last 100 years, we took all these photos of people today. If there's still a residuum of what we call Nephilim DNA, vapor canopy human types still around, yeah, you can't say giants never existed when we have giants in the historical record on photograph in the last, and these aren't even the big ones. All these are 7 foot, 7'5" to 8'3". That's Robert Pershing Wadlow right there, died 1941. I'm going to go through these pretty fast because, again, I don't want to get bogged down in details that are not really the subject matter. Damn, it's a big old dude. I think that was that's Wadlow again. That's Robert Pershing Wadlow. Famous. There he is, Robert Wadlow. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's Robert Pershing Wadlow. It's crazy, man. These are prime examples. So you can imagine if the environment changed, how human giants would be back on the menu. It's Robert again. I'm pretty sure, if you were 8'11", you probably would be fucking very popular with the ladies.
No 8'11" lady would be popular with the men.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. You'd be the life of the party, man. You showed up to a party and you had a girl 7'3", 7'3" girlfriend. Yeah, shit. I'm not intimidated. Let's see. All right, now let me show this one. So we need to take this into consideration because this was only, I believe it was 700 years ago. Let me see. Oh, Crusade era. Yeah, 1,000 years ago. So because this is an elongated skull, guys. This is an elongated skull. They're trying to say it was a genetic freak, whatever. But the problem is this is not a skeleton that was found by itself with no way to date it. This is the skull of a Christian knight who was buried a Christian burial with Christian artifacts that were datable. This was a Christian crusader. Now, does it fit the pattern? What do we know about the 1000s and the 1100s AD that would have made this a normal human skull? What do we know? That's where we're going with this. Because what we found that happened in the ancient world, and the template is so clear. The template is clear. We were very technologically advanced. We were advanced. We built badass architecture, badass shit. Then all of a sudden a cataclysm came, and when we came back after the cataclysm, we're building inferior stuff. Does it sound like cathedrals and castles? We're talking about 4,000 and 5,000 years ago, we built some technologically advanced stone architecture. Then a cataclysm happened. We were hiding underground. When we resurfaced, everything we built was inferior. But now our artwork has what we call prehistoric creatures in it. Our artwork has idols and statues, anthropomorphic stuff. We have all kinds of Heleolithic symbols. Everything's in there. We have evidence of giants. Giant skeletons have been found. All this. This is the ancient world. But now, all of a sudden, coming into the modern world, did this get repeated? And our educators have failed to tell us this. Did the entire cycle of us getting advanced, suffering a cataclysm, reappearing with inferior technology, showing artwork of evidence of dinosaurs, prehistoric creatures, all this stuff, and human giants, did this entire cycle get repeated and recently? That's where we're going in this presentation, because now I'm going to show you that everything that I showed you that was true for the ancient world of 5,000 and 4,000 years ago happened again in the last 15 centuries. We probably still have another 100 image, another 500 photos to go through. It's a crusader burial. Elongated skull from a crusade, and he died. The knight suffered defeat in combat. It's a Christian skull. So let's go to the Roman period. Right before all the fun began, let's go to the Roman period. And in the Roman period, what's really interesting is that these are all Roman artifacts. I'm going to show you that last. These are all Roman artifacts. Beautiful coins, Roman coins found all different places. Listen, there's two facts about all these Roman artifacts that are going to stand out as very interesting. These are all Roman artifacts dated from the 1st to the 5th century AD. Basically, all right before the Dark Ages. Roman artifacts. Look at them all. Roman inscriptions on Roman coins and artifacts. All of this. The reason I'm showing all this is because everything you're looking at is Roman, and every bit of it was found in North America. Everything you're seeing was excavated in North America, and it's all Roman. I'm not saying Rome was in North America. I'm saying that they were here. They were traveling here. They were trading here. They were excavating. They were discovering things. And they lost a whole bunch of objects because we found them in North America. Every artifact I've just showed you, this entire collection is Roman, and it was all found in North America. That's the first fact that's just really unusual. Most people don't know all these Roman artifacts were actually found here. Roman statues. These are all Roman masks. Look at that, Caesar with an elephant. A lot of these are in the collection of Barry Fell, American anthropologist. But what's the greatest mystery here about these Roman artifacts that were found in the Americas? Here's the greatest mystery. The greatest mystery is this sword. This sword was a Roman sword found among Roman artifacts in North America. It was found with a cache of Roman artifacts that were stored and hidden in Tucson, Arizona. Roman artifacts in Tucson, Arizona. And researchers believe that the etching, the artwork on one of the Roman swords is of an anatomically correct brontosaurus. Right there. It's not the first brontosaurus that's been found in European art. So it's very interesting. So when we go to European and Mediterranean art for the Dark Ages, which follows the Roman period, when we go into the Dark Ages, into the Middle Ages of the 1000s, during the Crusader period, the 1000s, something happens. We don't have hardly any evidence from the Phoenician, Greek, Mediterranean, Egyptian world, the Hittite world, the Phrygian, the Ionian, Ilium, nothing from the Black Sea region for the whole period of about the Ogygian deluge all the way to the Dark Ages. We have almost no evidence of any artwork or statuary of prehistoric type creatures like dinosaurs. We don't have anything. It's like they vanished off the face of the earth. But starting with the Dark Ages, what in the hell happened to our world to where all of a sudden We find all of this, and every bit of it is dated from the Dark Ages to the years 1200 AD. What I'm about to show you is incredible. Every bit of it. It's like our whole world just suddenly changed. This is artwork from the Dark and Middle Age period. Artwork. This is a historical account of a bunch of flying dragons. This is Native American totem pole showing anatomically correct what we call dinosaurs fighting each other. Again, here is a highly stylized stegosaurus, pre-Columbian art. This is a stegosaurus found. That's a stegosaurus found in a Southeast Asian temple near Angkor Wat, but it's not Angkor Wat. It's Angkor something else. It's one of the other temples. Here's some sauropods again. That's 15th century AD sauropods, but still, that's even later. But it could be misdated. There's the stegosaurus on the Asian temple. How did that happen? 12th century AD, the Middle Ages. Totem pole. That's the same totem pole. Pyramid with dragons in Mexico. I don't know what these creatures are. Here are ichthyostones. Ichthyostones. This is a church. This is a church in relief. That's 1500s. Here's the Dragon of Carthage. This would have been North Africa. These are different historical accounts of different dragons. This is Dark Ages and Middle Ages. This is Viking art, dragon ships. This is South America, Mosh culture. Disappeared. The Mosh culture disappeared in the Dark Ages. Looks like a baby stegosaurus. This is Dark Ages, 100 to 800 AD. Dark Ages. Deep. This is Top Prom. The temple in it's a Buddhist temple. It's 800 years ago. They put this stegosaurus in their art. Why? This is Africa. Little baby dragon. I believe this is Constantinople. This right here, these are medieval decorations. These are like house sigils. This is Roman. This is artist depiction. More artist depictions. A lot of these are church cathedrals. Look at that. Middle Ages, Dark Age to Middle Age period. It's transitional period, 1200 AD. The baby brontosaurus is the handle for this jar. Dragon slaying festival, Firthenwald, Germany, called Rackensnitch. One of the oldest folk plays in Germany has been performed in this medieval city of dragons since 1590. The festivities include 1,000 locals dressed in historical costume, at least 250 horses, a hero knight, and his wife who needs to be rescued from a 50-foot-long fire-breathing dragon robot. Where did that come from? George and the Dragon, very, very ancient motif. There's George. This is the German Nibelungen. It's the same thing as George and the Dragon. House of France had a reptilian water spout. It's all stonework. Here's more reptilian water spouts, serpents that spit water. These are the grindles. The grindles are described as reptiles. These are what the Vikings fought. This is in Beowulf. This is a stylized pterodactyl. The wings are flat against the body. But this is, archaeologists say this is a stylized pterodactyl. It's a reptile. Another artist rendition of whatever beast that was. This is a double-barrel blunderbuss with fire salamanders. We got fire salamanders as symbolic. I would have loved to have owned this gun, man. Look at that. It's so artistic. This is on a church. This is supposed to be a Grendel. Church art. Viking era. Here's another Georgian and the dragon depiction, but this, I believe this is would be France or Spain. Look at this creature here. This creature doesn't even exist today, but this is only 15th century old European art. There's your Stegosaurus again. That looks like almost like a Triceratops hood right there. It is Triceratops. Maybe a female, no horns. Brontosaurus, Ichthyostones. Brontosaurus overlaid on something else. Two more creatures. Could be dinosaurs, might not be. Could be a dragon dinosaur, might not be. These are people. It's huge, whatever it is. That's crazy. Look at that. Dragon handles, just like Peru, but this is European. Or no, this is Chinese. Wow. Look at that Stegosaurus. You can see the relief of the Stegosaurus here in the rock. I don't know what that is. Another stylized Stegosaurus. Brontosaurus stylized. From China. There's that creature again. This is a different one. Wow. Interesting. Man, look at that giant. In that artwork is a giant centipede, whatever that thing is. All right. All right. There's another Stegosaurus stylized. Oxford University, a reptilian figure holding a human. There's a first century Roman ring. Some Roman heroes fighting a cockroach, giant cockroach. It's another reptilian. Oh, look at that armor. Who in the Middle Ages is going to make a full suit of armor out of reptilian hide? What the hell? What in the hell? You see that? That's a badass suit of armor, man. That is a badass suit of armor. Hell yeah, man. Yeah. So this is Dark Ages to Middle Ages. We're not done. These are the Ichthyostones. These are actual tens of thousands of archaeological artifacts. I'm not showing videos. Where is these videos? I gotta get all these videos out of here, man. What is going on here? All right, cool. Here are the Ichthyostones. All right, this is pissing me off now. Why is this not? Stop screen, share screen. Always makes me go all the way out of a file to get into the next file. Here's the Ica stones right here. These defy explanation. They are dated to the Dark Ages. This is a guy riding a dinosaur. These are the Ica stones. Look at that. Look at that. And pottery and cups. What is that? What does that look like to you? I don't want to have to say it, but what does that creature look like to you? This is a 1,300-year-old piece of art. What is that? Can you see that? That's a brontosaurus, man. And there's a guy with a bird mask on, riding on the back of a pterodactyl, man. Yeah, man. It's so crazy. Now, your uniformitarians, they're all going to cry hoax. You know what I mean? They all cry hoax, say, oh, man, these are all fake and all that. But these were discovered in the 1930s, man. And scientists have gone down there. You know what they found? They found patina on all these stones. You know what that means? A patina takes up centuries to build. It is a film on the stones showing that, man, these things were made a long time ago, because the patina they got to scratch the patina off to get to the art. Look at this. That is a Triceratops type creature. Look at this Stegosaurus. You can't tell me these people in the Dark Ages didn't see that creature. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't tell me they didn't see that creature. There's over 40,000 of these Ica stones. There's a Triceratops. There's a Tyrannosaurus type creature. Yeah, man. Look, you can't tell. There's a baby brontosaurus. Look, they got surgical. A lot of researchers say that they're doing surgery on some of these creatures. They're domesticating them. They're riding them. Some of these creatures are fighting each other. Dude, the Ica stones are amazing. There's another Triceratops. The patina proves that they are at least centuries old. They had to clean the patina off just to be able to see the artwork. Isn't that crazy, man? Dr. Cabrera, this is his museum in Ica. This dude has been taking shit all his life behind this because he's been attacked. All these scientists and all this attacking this guy. But honest scientists who are given samples of the stuff, they're saying, yeah, man, when we study these, yeah, there's no way he couldn't have forged these and made them, because locals are resorting to ancient testimony of the Spanish. And guess what was found in the Spanish records? The Spanish found a bunch of these stones and sent them back to Spain. And they're talked about in the conquistador records, and they're cited in 300-year-old books about these stones with these weird dragons on them. Yeah, man. Everything's been authenticated about this. Don't let these uniformitarians gaslight you. This shit's real. You see this totem pole right here? In the center? This totem pole? Dr. Cabrera's totem pole? This is fossil. It was wood, but it's now stone. It's fossilized. It's petrified. Yeah, man. Anatomically correct, what we call dinosaurs, giant reptiles, and listen, well, to add credence to the collection, if you look closely at this Ica stone here, this is a anatomically correct kangaroo. They were drawing what they knew. They were showing life forms they were familiar with. And these have all been positively dated to the Dark Ages. Can't make this shit up, man. I don't care how unbelievable it is. This is the facts. This is the facts. Whatever. Look at this, man. A stegosaurus as a handle for a damn cup. I'd buy that cup. If there's any errants out there that can start making Ica stone plates and utensils and cups, put me on the list. I'm going to be a buyer. Yeah, man. Look at that. A stegosaurus is fighting off another creature right here, dude. Ichthystone burial. I know a bunch of people in my community are all talking about the dinosaur. Yeah, that's why I get so frustrated with people, man, when they polarize. When they realize that they've been lied to about something, but they take it to the full extreme. Oh man, Jason, dinosaurs are totally fake. They're all bullshit. Man, be quiet. There is truth to them. What's fake is they're not 65 million years ago. What's fake is all what's made up is all museum statues. They haven't been found enough dinosaurs for all the statues in the museums. Of course, those statues are fake. But the historical record shows these creatures exist and they come back in cycles. But they were not 65 million years ago. They come back when the environment changes. Better pay attention because our environment's about to flip again. It's about to change back into this environment and real fast. Every single year, magnetic north deviates even more and more from true north. This is our clue that we're about to flip. We are about to enter a whole new phase. Remember, there's only two phases in the history of the world. You're either in an ice age or you're in a vapor canopy. And we've been in an ice age now for some centuries, and it's about to flip back to vapor canopy. Ichthyostones are real, guys. Just like the Acambaro artifacts. Here's a guy who has domesticated a Triceratops, and he's riding on the back of the Triceratops, just like this is the Ichthystone, but it's just like the 4,000-year-old Acambaro artifact that shows the guy on the figurine of a Triceratops riding it. Two different ancient cultures, two different time periods showing the exact same thing in two different medium of art. One is a 3D figurine. One of them is a stone, is an etching on a stone. Can't make this shit up. I sure didn't. I didn't make it up. The Ichthyostones show humans domesticating what looks like to be dinosaurs. And there's no scientist in the world that like this shit because they don't want to admit that humans and dinosaurs coexisted. They do not want to have to look a sleestack in the face. Yeah, man. Telling you, man. I tell you guys all the time, we don't have to make anything up. The history of the world is already absolutely packed with enough mysteries that we don't have to invent anything. Here is a brontosaurus on the left. Here's a tyrannosaurus who's pulled a fish out of the water and is eating it. There's a triceratops right there about to poke him in the butt. There is a stegosaurus in the back. There's a pterodactyl in the sky. All of this on one stone. And remember, researchers found a thick patina on these stones, meaning that they were buried and undisturbed and oxidized for a long period of time before Dr. Ika discovered them. That now for those who don't understand the significance here of the patina, first of all, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. It could be patina. I don't know, patina or patina, whatever it is. That thick layering of oxidation that's on these stones antedates the invention of the word dinosaur. That patina is evidence that from the 1840s, when dinosaurs first entered the scientific parlance, that patina shows these stones are far more ancient. But what's even more proof is the fact that the Spanish conquistadors left records about these stones. So, yeah, these are authentic as hell. And they're dated to the Dark Ages. All right, we're done with that file. Moving on up. So, as if to add to this time period, the Dark Ages and Middle Ages produced Viking art. I've already showed you one or two pictures from the Viking art, but let's go through the file. The Viking art of the time. Here's the Grendels in Beowulf. This is Viking art. Viking art is very, very stylized. They may have been influenced by vines, because during the vapor canopy, vines would have been growing everywhere. This might have been the origin of this Viking knotwork art. But here's Viking art. This is a stylized dragon. Here's another one. Looks just like the dragon on the Ishtar Gate of Babylon. Viking art. Here's another stylized dragon. Again, another one. The guy that's in this picture is the guy that sent me these pictures. I can't remember his name, but I deeply appreciate it because he added to my Viking file. If you're in the chat, introduce yourself. Look, this is the same creature that was on the Ishtar Gate of Babylon on a Viking runestone right here. This is Viking art. Little Grendel, little Velociraptor. Now you know why the Vikings didn't have chickens and eggs on their boats. They had pigs. Yeah, the Vikings used pigs and they fished. They weren't going to have no chicken laying eggs, popping velociraptors out left and right. That's just more Grendels to kill. This is Viking art right here. In this Viking art, what was peculiar about this picture? Oh, it's these long giant serpents. Here they are. Here they are. There's one right there. There's a fanged creature there. It's just Viking art. It's very stylized. This is Viking art right here. Now, this is a double-headed creature. Remember, in previous presentations, I showed you that different types of radiation. During the Dark Ages, we had the highest concentration of gamma ray saturations in world history. This is physicist Paul LaViollette's material published in his book, Earth Under Fire. And I showed charts showing you the gamma ray saturations, and they are highly concentrated during the Dark Ages. And the gamma ray, as we know, creates mutations in pre-existing life forms. Look at that creature. What is that? That's Viking art. Again, here's some Viking art. Vikings fighting something. Here's Christian Viking art. It's another variation of George and the Dragon. Here's another variation of George and the Dragon. That would be Norman Knight, which is Viking. Later Viking, Renaissance period. Here's another variation of George and the Dragon. This would be a Middle Eastern variation, Persian maybe, Arabic, of George and the Dragon. This is Viking art. This is a hero like Gilgamesh holding two dragons. So what makes it special is that the Vikings are dated to the same period as the Ica stones. Those Ica stones showing all those anatomically correct dinosaurs is the same time as the Vikings were appearing in the world. And the first thing the Vikings were doing were fighting Grendels. They were fighting reptiles. It's the first thing the Vikings were doing. They even styled their dragon ships after the very reptiles they fought. Let's keep going. We are not done. We are not done. So, same period, Dark Ages to Middle Ages, we have all throughout the Americas all these accounts of flying dragons, which are described as pterodactyls and pterodons. They're even found in Native American art, Native American totem poles, staffs, statuary. Yeah, remember, people make effigies of what they see and know. Ica stones had anatomically correct Stegosaurus, Triceratops, and kangaroos. So the petroglyph on the top is dated to the Dark Ages, Middle Ages period. The one on the bottom is dated to 4,000 years ago in Turkey. Remember, there's two main periods where all this unfolded. It unfolded twice in our history. It is a cycle. It is a cycle. And in between that cycle, there's a long period of time where these creatures just vanish from the world. They're gone. They're absolutely gone. But are they? But are they? Are there versions of those creatures here that just got so small and it looks so different? And we look on our fence and we see that little innocent little lizard and we don't even realize that it's some bitch right there will eat us in 2052. I'm just saying. Yeah, man, look at that. Look at this artwork. That is that creature right there. Yeah, man. We can't ignore this type of shit. Even Loch Ness, even the Loch Ness monster, guys, man. This is big. These creatures were mapped all over England and Scotland. They were called worms, but these creatures were known to be in lochs and lakes all over the United Kingdom before it was the United Kingdom, back in Old Britain. And there were whole maps that were talking about all the different worms, all the different lakes that had these creatures in them. What are those creatures? They're described as plesiosaurs. Here's Scandinavian plesiosaurs. These are monsters in the water. See those three mounds right there? That's just a stylized depiction of the three mounds in this photograph. It's all they just stylized. They didn't know really what they look like, but there are so many historical accounts of these creatures. This is an artwork. This is like a fresco, and it shows a Loch Ness type creature in the water outside the castle, and there's a person right there. Is this Constantinople? No, this is a Nile. This is Egypt, about 100 BC. These creatures were known in the water. Look at that. Artwork from Australia. You can't get any more specific about a plesiosaur than this. Australian Aboriginal artwork. That is an anatomically correct plesiosaur. Plesiosaur, how you say it. They're butchering it. They caught it and they're butchering it. That's Loch Ness right there. That's Nessie. There's Nessie again. That's a good book. Now, for any of you who want to know more about what kind of type of creature Nessie was, I'm going to show you this because they're still alive today, guys. One of them was found in 1977. It's right here. That is a plesiosaur found by a Japanese shipping trawler off New Zealand, 1977. It was a carcass. It was already rotting and floating, but it's a plesiosaur. That creature right there. They are not extinct. This is what the Japanese, one of the Japanese guys drew from studying it before it stank so bad they had to throw it back in the water. Japanese government was so proud they put stamps on it. Even though Western scientists have gaslit all of us into believing, oh, they just found a shark. It was just a unique shark. The Japanese know for a fact after studying it that it was a plesiosaur, and they even made stamps and all kinds of tourist stuff based off that discovery. All right, so we're done with that. We're done with that file. So it's not without coincidence. It's not without coincidence, guys, that coming out of the Dark Ages into the Middle Ages is the very first time that we have representations of the griffin. It's the very first time we have representations of the griffin. We also have a new civilization. We also have the rise of a new civilization at this time that used the griffin as their royal standard. and that was Tartaria. The griffin has been prominent charge since the 12th century, appearing on the seal of Richard de Redvers in 1162, and is frequently used to represent the might and nobility of aristocratic houses, as well as guardianship of treasures and divine power. This creature is not known in the ancient world at all until after the Dark Ages and Middle Age period, and it was used as a symbol of several houses, but Tartaria, it is the sigil of the Tartarians. Let's see. It's used in Russia. Now, of equal import is the fact is I have to show you this painting is from 1562. It is Jan Bruegel the Elder. This painting is real. Beautiful painting. Humans, horses, everything is anatomically correct in this painting. Having a badass battle, archers. You got a commander on horseback over here. Everything's anatomically correct. And it would be very easy to miss. This is a huge painting. It would be very easy to miss because you got to blow up the back way over here, crossing this river. So we did that. This is not my discovery. Other people have made this discovery. But way back here in the back on this painting where these red arrows are two areas of notice. It's right here. We blow them up. We blow them up. These are men riding brontosauruses. Huge circular back, long neck, tiny head. There's also a couple brontosauruses crossing the river. There's another one up here. Let's see. Everything, all the horses, all the men are anatomically correct. Every one of them. Every damn one of them. These are the horses. Look at the size of the horses. Look at the size of the brontosauruses. The brontosauruses are gigantic compared to these horses. So don't let anybody tell you they're camels, because that's what the gaslighting is. The gaslighting is, oh man, he just didn't know how to draw camels. He knew how to draw camels in 1562 because we have another work of art by him that has a camel in it, and he drew it absolutely perfect. Yeah, guys, when I don't let people gaslight me, I go to the sources. Here it is. This man painted a camel, and it's perfect, just like this ostrich, just like this man, just like this cow, just like these leopards, just like this turkey, partridge, just like this horse. Everything is perfect. That is a perfect camel. And that are perfect brontosauruses that are way bigger than these horses, and the horses are closer up. The horses are closer to us than the brontosauruses at a distance, and yet the brontosauruses are still huge. Don't let these people gaslight you, because they will. They'll gaslight the shit out of you. Yeah. They knew how to draw camels in the 1500s. They don't look anything like brontosauruses at all. All right. We are done with file H. We've been through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And now we are moving on. Our world has fundamentally changed since the Dark Ages. We're not the continent, so much has changed that we have to address some of this. We have to address some of this. I'm going to show you now because we're going somewhere with this. You got to understand we have a trajectory in this video. Our world has changed so much. California is an island here on this map. On this map, California is an island. South America has changed. There are fundamental changes on this map all the way around the world. All the way around the world. Look in the Pacific. This island doesn't even exist anymore. What is that? What is that? Let's keep going. Look at the changes in our world. Again, California is an island. Again, California is an island. Look at that. It even says California on it. See this coin? You see this? This is an old medallion right here. Look at the old medallion. The other side of the medallion shows California is an island. Look at all the interior of South America. Look at South America, all this water it's got inside of South America. Here's another medallion. Uh-oh, California is an island. Here's an old map. California is an island. Here's another old map. 1633, California is an island. Here's a different map. California is an island, 1634. Here's a different map. Gold foil. Oh, this is my map. This is a map I got on my wall. California is an island. This is a unique map because you're looking down on the world from the North Pole. This is the North Pole right here. You're looking down on the world right here. It's so unique because even in this projection right here, let me find North America. Oh, California is an island. Even looking down from the North Pole on this projection, California is an island. Look at this old map. California is an island. Though our world has fundamentally changed. I recently showed a map I have from 1780 of the Great Lakes area, and it's changed a lot too. Because in 1780 there was huge islands. The Great Lakes only have very small islands where those huge islands used to be, and the 1780 map has a lot more islands and bigger than our modern maps do. So things have changed fundamentally just in 200 years. Here's another old map. California's an island. Can't miss it. So many old maps with California being an island. There's another one. California's an island. There's another one. California, an island. There's another one. California. These are all different maps. I'm not showing the same maps. Here's another one. Look at this old Dutch map. California is an island. Here's another one. California, all by itself. I have a video just about California being an island, and I show you the U.S. Geological Survey reports on the interior of California and I show how it was an inland sea. Very recently, too. Very recently. All these different maps showing California, big old island. Here's another one showing the North Pole. Here's the North Pole right here. This is the North Pole projection looking down on the world. There's North America. California is an island. Wow, this is a really detailed map from 1699. California is a huge, huge island right here. Here's another one. California is an island. I need to get through these faster. There's just so many of them. There it is. Another circumpolar projection right here with California being an island. California's an island right there. Another circumpolar one. There's California right here at the top. California's an island. That's North America right there. Yeah, this many ancient cartographers did not make mistakes. There's California as an island right there on the far west. This map here basically has Iran as the center of the world. California's an island. California an island. California's an island. California's an island. An island. An island. An island. An island. Circumpolar. Where is North America? I need to make sure. Oh, there it is right there. California's an island. It even says California right there. California's an island. An island. An island. An island. An island. All right. Whew, we got through that. So we're almost through that because I have to show you that even from a Pacific, we just saw circumpolar vantage points of the map. I need to show you what the map looks like from a Pacific-centric view, because even from the perspective of China and Japan, California was an island. This is a Pacific-centric map where the Pacific is the center of the map. Can't miss it. California's an island. Here's another one with the Pacific being the very center of the map. Japan and China are on the left. California's on the right. Guys, these maps aren't that old. Our world has fundamentally changed since the Middle Ages. Here's an actual Oriental map. Pacific-centric. It's all in China. It's all in Japanese or Chinese. I can't remember which one it is. I think this is Japanese. Yeah, this is Japanese. This is Japanese. But it's all in Japanese, but right there, California's an island. This is a Chinese map. Watercolor. This is a Chinese watercolor map of North America. Look at this. There's California. California's an island. There's Florida. This is North America. Here's another Pacific-centric. It's Latin. This would probably be Dutch. A Dutch map. There's California. It's an island. Okay. Now we got through that. Good. So there are huge changes that we need to address for you to understand what's changed since the Middle Ages. What's changed since the Middle Ages? Well, this landmass here, this is the xenomap. The xenomap shows Greenland with no ice on it. It shows the coast and islands. It shows the mountain ranges, rivers. There's no ice on Greenland. How's that possible? Here's Greenland. There's no ice on Greenland. All the features are there. But there was thick ice on Greenland in World War II. When the Lost Squadron landed and all the men were rescued, they landed their planes in Greenland. Whoops. What's crazy about it is that the World War II planes make an emergency landing on Greenland ice pack in July 1942. In 1992, these aircraft were dug out at a depth of 268 feet of ice pack. This is 50 years. So 50 years equals 268 feet depth. Greenland ice pack is 1 mile to 1.5 miles in thickness above the ground. 1 mile to 1.5 miles is 5,280 feet to 7,920 feet depth, making the average depth of the ice pack to be 6,600 feet of ice pack in Greenland today. 6,600 feet divided by 268 feet depth of plains is 24.6. 50 years, which is 268 feet, times 24.6 is 1,230 years. 2026 AD minus 1,230 years of ice pack accrual means that there was no ice before 796 AD, the Dark Ages. Greenland, and by extension Antarctica, were ice-free during the Dark Ages. I told you we're in an ice age now. We're in an ice age now, and magnetic wandering is magnetic drift right now is showing us we're about to flip back into a vapor canopy period. So, if you think this thesis is crazy, you need to pay attention, because the old maps of Antarctica show no ice. Not only do they show no ice, but here's the Piri Reis map. This is a Turkish map. They also show life forms. Here's another map. This is the Orontius Phineas map. It also shows Antarctica with no ice. Here's another map. This map shows Antarctica with no ice. Shows the coastlines. It even shows mountain ranges. But even weirder still, it shows ships traveling to and from Antarctica. But this map takes the cake. The Urbano Monte map of 1587. This map here is amazing, because this map here is going to show us some wild shit. Antarctica not only has no ice, but Antarctica is full of what looks like to us Triceratops type creatures, prehistoric animals that we have seen in the fossil record. What? Crocodiles, anatomically correct birds. Here's another bird. What's going on in Antarctica in this map? Because every bit of this is Antarctica. That's a rabbit. That sure as hell is not a rabbit. That's not a rabbit either. There's a goat. There's another rabbit. There's a hawk. There's some monkeys. There even looks like there's some naked people over here having a blast. This dude looks like he's pushing one out. Let's see. Yeah, this guy right here, he wants his privacy. He's pushing one out. I don't know what they're doing, wrestling. I hope they're wrestling. Let's see. Yeah, man, normal forest animals, giant. Here's another more prehistoric creatures. This is Antarctica. There's an elephant. This is bizarre. This is Antarctica in the 1587 map. This guy's about to bash this Grendel. Look, he's about to bash this Grendel. He's about to hit this Grendel saying, man, listen, I understand, but you used to be a chicken nugget. Now all of a sudden you're a dragon. It's no good. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. You guys think I'm playing, man. After 2040, your chicken eggs are going to hatch into velociraptors. Parthenogenesis is the only explanation for the historical record. It's the only one that exists. Everything makes sense once you understand parthenogenesis. What these eggs from reptiles, these eggs from amphibians, these eggs from fish, and these eggs and seed pods from insects are going to hatch into is going to blow your mind. It has everything to do with environment. Our world turns into a vapor canopy jungle in just months. And every single egg that hatches during that period is going to be something fundamentally different than the creature that dropped it. Here is Antarctica in an old map with no ice. How do we know? Because it shows the true shape of Antarctica as being two different land masses and not one. which we know now from soundings. Yeah, man. You can't make this shit up. Here's another old map showing Antarctica. No ice. It's a landmass. It's a dry landmass.
You notice something?
I don't want to play that video because I don't know. I don't know if that video. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and play it. I'm gonna go ahead and play this video. Wait a minute. Was I sharing my screen just now? I was sharing my screen, right? Let me go look back. You guys saw all those Antarctica pictures, didn't you? I just showed on Antarctica. Yes, 1587. The map is from 1587. Yes, you did. Okay, so I thought I showed them. Cool. So I'm about to show this little video now because you have to understand Greenland's only, it's only recently had ice. Only recently. So, video. Oh, how am I gonna find this? Yeah, I'm gonna cancel that out. Yeah, that's gonna hurt. Copy. Put this on my desktop. All right, now I can go to my desktop. Okay, so man, I keep effing this up. All right, share a video file. That's what I need. That's what I need. Video file. There it is.
Something weird about this map of Greenland from 1592. Now, this is a continent that is supposed to be covered in ice year-round. I mean, when I was in school, they made a joke about it, how Iceland is a green continent part of the year, and how Greenland is covered in ice for the entire year. But do you notice on this map how there are trees over the entire continent, and none of it is ice? And there are two massive canals that go through the entirety of Greenland that supposedly don't exist today. But it's not just this map. Multiple historical maps show an ice-free Greenland. They even write about this in historical documents, saying that in Greenland, only half of the year it was frozen. But in the 1700s, maps started to indicate that Greenland was slowly getting frozen over. And why does this matter? Well, because the official story is that Greenland was frozen over 1 million years ago. We're going from Greenland being frozen over 300 years ago to 1 million years ago. And these people didn't just travel there, they lived there. So, of course, they would know. Maps like this one even pointed out, showing this massive canal that spanned all of Greenland and saying they were once passable, but are now shut up with ice. And this is from the 1700s. Here's another map from 1770 showing this canal being slowly swallowed by ice. Here's another map showing this canal. Here's another map showing this canal. And in this map from before that, they show the canal fully passable. Here it's just a river, and you can get through the entirety of Greenland by sailing through it. Now, why would this be the case if it had been frozen for 1 million years? Still today on Google Earth, you can see what appears to be the start of this canal. Just look at the two images. You can definitely tell there is a resemblance. But why do I show these old maps where there are forests in Greenland and no ice? Well, because it disproves global warming. It shows that the world is in an abnormal state of being frozen right now. That the world is not actually supposed to be this cold. So what is going on behind the scenes to make it this cold? Or what event happened that made it this cold? And is the melting of the ice in the Arctic and Antarctic actually normal? And we're actually returning to a state that the world was in only 300 to 400 years ago? It's pretty amazing to think about, but just wait till you hear more about the Arctic, because it hides a lot of secret.
Okay, so, oh my God, we are not done, guys. Maybe I might be able to wrap all this up in 30 minutes. I told you were in for a banger. So we have to keep following the evidence. And the evidence is Dark Ages. Coming out of the Dark Ages into the Middle Ages, Christianity went stupid. It was very advanced at the late Roman period. It was very advanced in the 4th century after a whole bunch of ecumenical councils, church councils, Council of Constantine. Before the fall of the Roman Empire, before the Dark Ages even began, Christianity had its doctrines intact. The gospel was published, but all of a sudden, coming out of the Dark Ages, 300 years of Dark Ages, and then into the Middle Ages, all of a sudden, Jesus is Lord of the mushrooms. That's not a joke. I'm going to show it to you. Jesus was acknowledged as Lord of the mushrooms. The saints had X-Men abilities and great powers over water, over watery creatures and reptiles. Here's Christian art here's Jesus riding on his white horse. There's mushrooms in this picture, but this isn't evidence until you look at it in the full view of all the other Christian art of the time. Jesus and the mushrooms. We don't know to what sizes and properties mushrooms have during a vapor canopy, but I'm pretty sure as fungus, they get gigantic. And they also provide a huge source of something. Yeah, man, it's Jesus, Lord of the mushrooms. Christian art, mushrooms. Why are mushrooms so significant in Christian art? Coming out of the Dark Ages into the Middle Ages. I have this book in my library. It is packed full of information. I gave a copy of this book to Martin Leakey, Mushrooms and Mankind. Here's Jesus with the umbra of a mushroom. Look, here's Jesus on the throne. What's at his feet? Footstools are toadstools. What? What? His footstools are toadstools. Right there. Now, pay attention. Jesus is the center of the Christian worship, right? Then why is every human in the picture staring at the mushrooms? They're not looking at Jesus. They're looking at those mushrooms. Yeah. All these people are like, man, when are you going to shut up so we can get to snacking on these things? Yeah, man. Here's Jesus right here. He's the Word of God. That's why these scrolls are coming out of him. He's the Word. He's the Word made flesh. He's not historical. He was literary. He's the Word made flesh. We have taken the Word and turned it into something historical. Look at this. He stands on a forest of mushrooms. All these are mushrooms. Can't make this shit up. Here's Jesus and the devil and a bunch of mushrooms. This is Christian art. This is Christian art. The tree of life was a mushroom. Look at that. Man, look at this. Mushrooms. This is Jesus and the mushrooms. Man, we need it. ASM Future, we need a new song, bro. Jesus and the mushrooms. Is this not Christian art showing mushrooms, saints? And isn't this the hanged man in the tarot? Look at his body language. Isn't that the hanged man in the tarot? Some of you, I'm not an expert on tarot. I don't know, but I'm just good at pattern recognition. That looks like the hanged man in the tarot, hanging from a mushroom in Christian art. ASM Future says, I'm on it. Yeah, man, we need Jesus and the mushrooms, bro. Do you see how profound this is? This isn't some nominal discovery. This is huge. This is huge. How could Christianity in 300 years get so retarded that it went to Jesus and the mushrooms from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, divine Jesus, Word of God, that's in the New Testament? How did that happen? Mushrooms. That's a cathedral. That's a church. Here's a mushroom wand. That's a mushroom wand right there. Look at this. Do you see what's happening here? This baby is getting christened under a mushroom. Here's Adam and Eve showing the serpent is wrapped around the tree of life. What is the tree of life? It ain't an apple tree. It's a mushroom. Here it is right here, man. We've been sold some bullshit. There's a mushroom right there. So if you want any more evidence that Christianity went full retard after the Dark Ages, say, man, I can keep a straight face if somebody's not giggling around me, man. Listen, if you need more evidence that Christianity went full metal jacket retard after 300 years of Dark Ages and being chased by velociraptors, let me tell you something. Let me show you this Christian art because it dates to the exact same period. Coming out of the Dark Ages, going into the Middle Ages, this is Christian church art. This is crazy. This is during the Jesus Lord of the Mushrooms period. Yeah, it's going to get super crazy. Yeah, man, we're not taught any of this shit. Yeah. We're not taught any of this shit. Yeah, man. Why are you fighting giant snails? And don't tell me there's some esoteric alchemical meaning for all this bullshit. I'm not trying to hear that, man. Yeah. Here's a knight fighting a giant snail. Again. There's a Norman knight, little Norman gear, fighting a giant snail. Please, baby. Please don't go over there and fight that evil snail. What is going on here, man? Yeah. Look at this. It's just like the little, chicken nuggets getting tired of, humans eating them. They become velociraptors and attack back. Now look, the rabbits are attacking back. This is Christian art. This is Christian art, man. What's going on? Rabbits started fighting back. Yeah, man, it's crazy. So crazy. Look at this. Snail shells got so damn big, people can sit there and use them for little clubhouses. What is going on? Yeah, man, it's a bunch of them. Giant frog, giant snail. Look at this. This is from Benin, Kingdom in Nigeria. This is a black African riding a giant snail. You think they just made this shit up? I bet a snail can move pretty fast in a vapor canopy environment. All right, so we finally got to our last file. Well, it's our last file, but it's got a couple sub files. Now, Before I show you this last file, you have to understand, we started this presentation showing you that in the most distant times of human memory, we have technolithic civilization, architecture that is devoid of writing, devoid of statuary, iconography. It has no artwork. It is megalithic architecture that was put together so badass that only machines could have effected what we saw. Technolithic precision, but nothing decorative. Nothing that shows culture. This is all pre-cataclysm. And then for some reason, we abandoned the surface and we went underground. We showed the underground facilities. And believe me, we've only shown less than 1% of what really exists out there. We haven't found everything. It doesn't matter. After we resurfaced, after the cataclysm, when we resurfaced, the biosphere was different. Now, all of a sudden, our offspring got smaller and smaller. Animals got smaller and smaller. Plants and trees got smaller and smaller. And that was the world we lived in. And we built new civilizations on the surface because most of our older ones were buried. As we built newer civilizations, we did it in an inferior way. Maybe it was the environment. Maybe we didn't know how to use the technology anymore. Maybe our technology was inferior. But I showed you the difference between technolithic sophistication in architecture and Heliolithic. The Heliolithic came later. As Heliolithic civilization was becoming more prevalent and many different sites were being built at the same time, they were all interrupted at the exact same time with another cataclysm. This cataclysm afterward brought more of these weird creatures and human giants temporarily. Then there was a long period of like 15 centuries where history was like normal or almost normal. And we have the classical civilizations, and we don't have hardly any references to these unusual creatures or human giants at all. And then all of a sudden the Dark Ages hit. And what happens? Man, chicken eggs turn into velociraptors. If Vikings are fighting Grendels, the whole world goes full stupid, starts just all of a sudden starts making statuary. They start making reliefs and totem poles. They start carving on rocks. They get 35,000 stones in Peru, and they start etching anatomically correct dinosaurs and kangaroos. Everybody goes crazy. What is going on in the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, where everybody wants to make statues of dinosaurs? It's insane. This is what we've shown already in this presentation. We started off with technology. And then we go through these punctuated resets. Remember, the subject matter of the video is if you want to disprove or try to debunk all the data sets for the Phoenix phenomenon cycle that is shown in the first video of Devil's Advocate, this is Devil's Advocate 2. You need to come up with an alternate theory that answers for everything that I've presented in this video. Let me show you this last file, because I just showed you a bunch of stuff that was all found underground. Underground. Human architecture, human artifacts, gold, weapons, armor, different devices, technological artifacts, all found underground, some at great depth. But everything I'm going to show you right now has been found on the surface. And we have to make sense of this. If human cities, architecture, castles, fortresses, skeletons, artifacts, utensils, tools, and weapons have all been found hundreds of feet underground, how in the hell was all this found on the surface? Vehicle tracks on every continent in the world, as I've shown in prior presentations. These are vehicle tracks. They are petrified, turned into stone on the surface for everybody to see, uncovered, exposed to the sun ever since they were petrified. Vehicle tracks, they betray technology. Vehicle tracks going into the oceans from the land. Dinosaur footprints on the surface. Vehicle tracks on the surface. This is Texas. Vehicle tracks right here. Petrified on the surface. Dinosaur footprints on the surface. Petrified tree forest on the surface. What else is on the surface? Bristlecone pines, largest trees in the world. Dawnwood pines, coastal redwoods, all on the surface. They're alive today. Petrified forests on the surface. You can go out to Arizona and there is 100 square miles of petrified trees and logs on the surface. On the surface, here's a dinosaur footprint that stepped over a human footprint and got fossilized together, found in the great state of Texas. On the surface. On the surface, dinosaur footprints on the surface. All these are dinosaur footprints on the surface. They get rained on. They get sunburnt, but they don't get destroyed because they're fossilized. The entire surface of the land, not just the individual prints, the entire surface of land was turned into a fossil. Dinosaur footprints on the surface. Here's a handprint of a human fossilized on the surface. A human footprint on the surface, fossilized. Human shoe prints, boot prints, sandal prints, and barefoot footprints on the surface, fossilized. Human footprint in a fossil right there on the surface. Another one on the surface. Here's a human footprint on the surface. Here's a dinosaur footprint and a human footprint on the surface. That's a famous one right there. I keep showing it. There's a human footprint on the surface. Another human footprint. That's my hand right there. I was there at that museum. Human footprint on the surface. On the surface. What's going on? Sandal prints on the surface. Human footprint on the surface. Here's vehicle tracks. They're petrified into these ruins. Sandal print. Look at that. Triassic rock from 220 million years ago on the surface. Sandal prints. Here's more fossils. Vehicle tracks. These vehicle tracks are petrified into the ground on the surface. Dinosaur on the surface. All this. Vehicle tracks. Dinosaurs. All on the surface. On the surface. Look at that strapping young fellow. Underwater. Vehicle tracks petrified. More vehicle tracks petrified on Malta. All over the world, these vehicle tracks have been found. They are uniform in distance from each other. They go into bodies of water. They are on the surface. While human architecture and human artifacts are found in coal seams in 300 million year old stuff, allegedly 300 million, while architecture and human tools and weapons are found hundreds of feet underground, dinosaurs are found on the surface. Relics and artifacts showing dinosaurs are found on the surface. Petrified dinosaur footprints on the surface. Petrified vehicle tracks. Petrified human footprints and human handprints are all found on the surface. More vehicle tracks. This is a really unique vehicle track. It's got some mechanism in the middle of it. Here's dinosaur footprints on the surface. Sauropod. Tridactyl here. Here's more dinosaur footprints, all petrified into the surface. Vehicle tracks in the surface. Vehicle tracks going up the side of a hill. More vehicle tracks passing over Wyoming. There's the sandals with the trilobite, crushing the trilobite. Tridactyl. Vehicle tracks. Look at that. Looks like a modern day vehicle track. It's a fossil, petrified into the surface. More vehicle tracks from the air, seen from the air. Vehicle track. Solid rock. Vehicle tracks petrified into the surface. Right here too. More vehicle tracks in Austin. Or outside of Austin. Another vehicle track. Vehicle tracks. Who made these? Vehicle tracks. Vehicle tracks in Malta going straight into the water. Here's some more human footprints fossilized on the surface. Vehicle tracks on the surface. Dinosaur footprints with human footprints on the surface. All fossilized, all turned to stone. Here's human, here's dinosaur right there. On the surface, handprint. Oh, that's famous. We've seen so many. I'm going through them fast because we're almost done. Petrified forest, more dinosaur. Here's more tracks. Unknown cliff. They call them cart ruts. They're not carts. So many. There's so many examples. I'm still going through this file. Look at all these pictures. So many examples. And even this file does not justify, it doesn't justify all the ones that have been found, how many have been discovered. There's so many. Just doesn't justify it. Doesn't make sense. Everything's on the surface. Man, when's this file going to end? That's badass. More cart ruts, which are just vehicle tracks. All right. So, what I have done, I've got. So those are human footprints, dinosaur footprints, and vehicle tracks all on the surface. So we can't ignore these here, because we also have what we talked about earlier, giants. We also have giant human footprints, not just ordinary human, but we have giant human footprints that have been found fossilized and on the surface. It's a big old foot there. I do not want to meet these guys. Yeah, man, I do not want to meet these guys. This is a Roman shoe. Look at the size of that Roman shoe. He'd probably been 7 foot. Look at this. Watch this. Here's a short little video that plays twice over because it's so short. But it's a vehicle tracks. These are vehicle tracks. Look at all these vehicle tracks petrified into the ground. What the hell? They were going crazy trying to get somewhere before the world just broke. Look how the vehicle tracks go underwater. Not because the vehicles went underwater, but because the ground broke. Remember what the Phoenix phenomenon does: subsidence and upheaval. At one time, this was all flat land. Then pieces of land just broke off. And you can see the vehicle tracks continue underwater. Isn't that crazy? It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And the only thing I can see that even makes sense of this entire deal is shown on this chart here. I'm going to show you the chart. If someone's going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, all the data sets that I showed in the first video, they have to provide an alternate theory that makes sense of all the evidence. Everything that I just presented. In order, like the uniformitarian model, the reason like Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson, and all these guys push the Younger Dryas is because that's the acceptable model, because it allows you to ignore everything I just presented. Everything I just presented is within the last, 7,000 years or so. They want you to look at something 12,000 years ago because it allows you to ignore all the information I just gave you. You've never heard Graham Hancock talk about any of the shit that I just talked about in this video, and for good reason. Yeah, he's not about the truth. He's about making sure that you don't find out about all this type of stuff. Yeah, it's and all the people that follow him, every one of them. But here's the chart. You can't. All the evidence that I've been able to uncover shows this is the model. This is the model. I showed you from the beginning of the video that there was a period 5,000 and 4,000 years ago where we were technologically advanced, where we hit underground later on. When we resurfaced, our next phase of civilization was markedly inferior. Our architecture was inferior. But we recorded prehistoric creatures back then and giants. And then another destruction happened in a period of what we call normalcy for a long period of time. And then all of a sudden the Dark Ages came and it all happened again. Every bit of it happened again. In the Roman period, we were advanced. Then the Dark Age cataclysm came. When we resurfaced, the Big Macs, or little chicken nuggets that we used to eat, are now chasing us. In the Dark Ages, all of a sudden there's all kinds of creatures, all kinds of things going on. Early Viking period, all kinds of grindles and creatures. The Dark Ages was just so weird because it was a vapor canopy. Here's the perfect cycle right here. This is the cycle. The first one, the first cycle was right here. It's a perfect cycle. This is 1,200 years of basically Well, I won't say that. I won't say that. But we had the Typhon flood event where we were hiding underground. And when we came out of it, you can't see the Ogygian deluge on here, but it's about right here. 1687 BC. It interrupted our whole civilization. It started a whole period of normalcy. And normalcy lasted all the way to the beginning of the Dark Ages. But the cycle is literally perfect. And we're at the end of an ice age right now. 2040, 2039, 2040 will be the end of this ice age, and will be the flip. There's no way it's not going to flip. Every single year, magnetic north deviates even more and more. And it's going to hit a tipping point. And when it hits a tipping point, it's going to flip. And when it flips, the whole stellosphere is going to flip with it. And we're going to enter a period of intense volcanism. That volcanism is going to bring back the mesosphere. That intent. A lot of the volcanoes though are subglacial. They're underneath ice caps. This amount of moisture shoved into the mesosphere is going to blanket our world with ash, pumice, and this water. And it's not going to create an ice age. It's going to create a warming effect. It's going to create another vapor canopy environment. And I'm telling you now, you're not going to want to buy that dozen eggs. You're going to want to hold off when that happens. But this is the cycle. And if you want to see it with even more clarity, you can look at it like this. Because this chart here, that's the Phoenix phenomenon. But here's a much better chart to show the second one. Here's the second cycle. Started the Dark Ages, 522 AD. Here it is. This is when it started. 522 AD. Great Justinian darkness, 25 years of Great Justinian darkness. This cycle here is the Dark Ages going into the Middle Ages. And look, we didn't even start progressing until that period was over. This period with the black circle is the period where I just showed all these artifacts, relics, statuary, traditions, artwork, even churches that show prehistoric creatures. This black circle here was a vapor canopy. And during that vapor canopy, it was parthenogenetic effects on creatures. So all these avians were hatching eggs, and the eggs were coming out with something other than birds. All these amphibians and reptiles were laying eggs, and what was being hatched was something far different than the reptiles and avians and reptiles and amphibians that were laying those eggs. During this period, humans saw some really weird shit. They ate some, they hunted some, they domesticated some. This is where all those dinosaur and ichthyostones and all that statuary, church artwork, all of it derives from this period here. When that period was over, look what happened. Stone Castle building begins. University of Bologna was founded in 1088 AD. 1092 AD, the Pisa Cathedral was started. They started building that. Look at this. 1099 to 1254 is the Crusade Wars. 1106, the Spire Cathedral. We began building it. 1133, Durham Castle. 1145, St. Denis Cathedral. 1150, Paris University. 1167, Oxford University. 1209, Cambridge University. 1218, University of Salamanca. 1220, Chartres Cathedral. Why all of a sudden were we able to spend so much time building badass castles, universities, and townships? The reason is we weren't chasing velociraptors anymore. We weren't defending ourselves against the Grendels. We weren't in a world anymore. They died off. The vapor canopy collapsed and was gone. The world was populated by what? Fleets of Vikings, dragon ships coming out of the Dark Ages. They're the heroes. They're the subject of Beowulf. Why did the Geats travel by ship so far to go all the way to the kingdom of Hrothgar of the Danes to go fight his battles? Because all they did was go to fight the Grendels. That's why they went, to go fight the Grendels. Vikings were fighting reptiles. So anyway, that's my presentation, guys. If you're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, you got your work cut out for you, as I outlined in the first video. But this second video was provided to show you what the Phoenix phenomenon cycle solves. All these mysteries it solves perfectly. They're no longer mysterious. Solves them all. But there's always going to be detractors, because no one from the uniformitarian mindset or field can ever even entertain any of this shit. Yeah, they have a mind block. They can never entertain the fact that human architecture and artifacts have been found in coal seams hundreds of feet below the surface of the earth, while dinosaur tracks, human footprints, and vehicle tracks are fossilized on the surface. They can't process that, because they believe in a uniformitarian model of hundreds of thousands of years and millions of years of a slow process of development, and it's not true. The true history of the world is that we're in a vapor canopy ice age cycle, and we are at the very end of an ice age right now, about to flip back into a vapor canopy. That's the truth. In the Phoenix history, as I have published on my channel and all my books, and I have demonstrated in the first video, Devil's Advocate Part 1, shows exactly that. It is very well documented, this phenomenon. And this is what it shows. This is why the history of the world is exactly as it is, because of this cycle. The cycle is very easy to show. And I've showed it from multiple different vantage points. So if you're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, get to it. But you got a whole lot of shit to do in the first video before you even get to coming up with an alternate theory that can account for all of this data. That's my presentation, guys. I'm done. Love you much. But I got me a knucklehead here I got to entertain. So I'm gonna let you guys to it. But that was fun. But damn it, 3 hours and 47 minutes. I did it again, didn't I, man? I did it again. So I'm going to dedicate this song to all those who are going to listen to this video and still disbelieve every bit of this shit. You know what? I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. But I'm dedicating this to you. Love you guys.
This one's for the misled masses, the truth seekers led astray. RKX rising, calling out the gatekeepers. Time to roast!
Gatekeeping ain't easy, holding back the light, pushing fake histories on the studio light. From Rogue and the Fridman, they lock the gate tight. RKX knocking, but they ghost in the fight. Shills get the stage, grifting masses with lies. But truth's coming back, open up your eyes. Joe Rogan, king of the pod, DMT dreams in your head, hosting Hancock and Carlson, leaving real truth for dead. Episodes like Nugget 1897, ancient apocalypse spin, but Phoenix phenomenon, you won't let it in. Randall's rocks and Graham floods, all uniformitarian fluff. Billy Carson aliens, man, that's weak stuff. You platform the grifters, Jimmy Corsetti too, but Brisha's chronology, nah, not for you. Gatekeeping debates, keeping masses confused. Retribution's here, Joe, your cred's getting bruised. Keeping ain't easy, holding back the light, pushing fake histories on the studio light. From Rogue and the Fridman, they lock the gate tight. RKX knocking, but they ghost in the fight. Shills get the stage, grifting masses with lies. But truth's coming back, open up your eyes. Lex Fribbin, AI guru, deep talks in the night. Hancock of 44-9, Ice Age cataclysm psycho, bigly tempered tales. Younger, dry as height, but RKX is reset. You swipe left, no type. You chase the controversy, but block the real clash. Shills get the mic, truth gets the trash. Losses and sphinx erosion, all smoke and mirrors, while simulated history clears up the errors. Gatekeeping ain't easy, but you make it look slick. Retribution for the osprey, time to fix this trick. Patrick Bet David, Valuetainment Boss, Carson and EP46, Alien Jesus, Gloss, Randall and 466, Extinctions and Masons, but RKX's timeline, no invitation. You talk pyramids, Trump, Uncles, Tesla vibes, grifting with ancients, feeding the tribes. Billy's forbidden knowledge, more like forbidden facts. Gatekeep the debates, cover your track. Misleading the seekers, chasing their clout. Retribution's calling, truth breaking out. Andrew shows on flagrant, jokes flying high. Carson aliens, Hancock Atlantis lie. Ben Van Kirkwick pyramids lost tech tees, but RKX is Phoenix, you freeze. No please, laughing at the theories, but blocking the real. Shills get the laughs, truth gets the steel. Corsetti's right inside them, bulb in the dark. Gatekeeping debates, missing the mark. Humorous roast, but the pace for the loss. Retribution served, count the cost. Retribution for the misled. For all y'all led astray, chasing fake ancient lore. RKX got the data, timelines galore. No more grifting masses, no more locked doors. Debaters step aside, truth settles the scores. Phoenix rising, simulations breaking free. Gatekeeping ain't easy, but it's over, you'll see. It ain't easy. Shout out to the truth seekers. Check RKX on X and YouTube for the real deal gatekeepers. Your time's up.